Hello everyone and welcome to another live stream where we will be discussing the new Death Guard Codex. I'm Skari, your grateful host. Good morning from all around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in. And this is the 5 a.m. show in Canada, or 10 a.m. GMT time, where we get to discuss stuff that's happening in the world. So good morning, welcome. We've got, I got up, thank you for this, Tanya, the War Mistress, blight and early for all of you today. The cover art is fantastic. We're going to be spending the next hour to hour and a bit talking about the Death Guard book, looking at all the cool contagions that lie within, and making sure that we do all that. Of course, if you haven't already, make sure you check me out on various social media platforms like Twitter, and or support the content that the channel creates on Patreon, which is essentially the main go-to. So let's dive in now. If you missed the live show, make sure that you 5 a.m. truly dedicated. You know, I try to be as dedicated as humanly possible when it comes to it. I also have a nice cup of coffee. Hello, Christopher Taylor, Caleth, Thomas, Ulver, Anian, Airhawk, Matthew. Things are delicious along these lines, which does make me super excited about life in general. Troy on Facebook. You're the only viewer on Facebook. Sure. we are live on a variety of different social media platforms, which is Facebook, all that good stuff. Twitter, Twitch. Shout out to all the Twitch peeps, and YouTube, of course. Oh, hello from California, says Scott. 2 a.m. Now that's what I call dedication. That's a lot earlier than I am. Okay, so there we go. Looking at some of the artwork on the Codex. To be honest, I think it's I sat down reading this Codex, and anything from all the stuff that you kind of wish, stratagems, warlord traits, all the new contagion rules, things like that. I'm excited to kind of go through it and explain some of the things. We're going to go basically through bit by bit, etc., stuff like that. After 7 years of not playing 40k, here I am back of it because of this one. No problem, RJ. I hope you enjoyed as well. The Death Guard are the greatest champions of the Plague God. Some of these like old classic like artwork and stuff. It's so cool. I love it. You've got all the lore and whatnot. We're not really going to sit down and go through all the lore and stuff like that. Was there a set time you can release this? Yes, 5 a.m., which is literally 3 minutes ago. Yeah, hello again from Vienna. Hello, Andreas. How's it going? So a lot of content creators like sort of like filming stuff when they get their pre-release codexes, and they film like a variety of different videos. I like sitting down, doing a live show with all of you, going through all of this stuff live, answering all of your questions. It's kind of like the beauty of doing, live content. I get to interact with all of you. You get to ask questions that you might find relevant at the time. That sort of thing as well. After seeing some of the leaks, the strats aren't as OP as I expected, says George. Yeah, that might not be what you expected. But everything you see, or everything, I feel like people tend to focus a lot on random stuff when it comes to the Codex and whatnot. Okay, France here, 11 a.m. on Côte. Ooh, the Ivory Coast. Very cool, very cool. Welcome all the way from Le France. Thanks for tuning in. So we're going to dive in. Your face first thing in the morning and a preview. Good start to the weekend. I will have a bit of coffee to that. Cheers, Envy. Thank you so much. Let's dive in, shall we? To this. So we've got match play rules, battle forge rules, you've got your normal army rules. So the Codex itself is in the same sort of format that we've seen from the codexes right now. We've seen Space Marines, the same thing. We've seen Blood Angels, we've seen Space Wolves, we've seen Deathwatch, we've seen Necrons, and now Death Guard in the same sort of thing. Yeah, thank you for your dedication. See, look, I even covered my code so I don't get, so my code doesn't get taken. Then we've got combat patrol stuff over here. Nothing crazy. So let's go into the secondaries first. So every book has its own secondary choices. There are 3 different secondary choices for match play rules for Death Guard. No mercy, no respite, so it's 3 points at the end of every battle round if an enemy unit failed a morale test, or had one or more models destroyed with played weapons this battle round. So it's in the battle round, so there's 2 2 ways to do it. There are different ways to lower people's leadership and things like that. So if you wanted to sort of build your army around getting failing morale test secondary, interesting. Is it going to be super viable? Not all the time, but that's an interesting mechanic. Despoiled ground. So this one is end of game objective, which you get 4 victory points basically for 1, 2, 3, 4 different things. So there's a maximum of 16 points you can get, which you can't. So you caps at 15 if you do everything. However, if you do 2, that's 8. If you do 3, that's 12. So end of the battle, if bubonic Astartes are units wholly within your opponent's deployment zone and 1 wholly in your deployment zone. So if you have like an end of game line breaker and a unit in your zone, you get 4 points. Okay. So 4 points if you have 1 or more bubonic Astartes wholly within 3 different table quarters, and those units are all more than 60% of the battlefield. So end of game, table quarters, like engage on all fronts, but end of game, and score 6 points instead if you have 1 or more bubonic Astartes units from your army wholly within each table quarter. Those units are all more than 6 inches to the center of the battlefield. Yeah, so it's 6 points if you have all 4 table quarters. And this is any bubonic Astartes unit, so it's like anything that has the keyword. Could be a character, stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Morning from Hamilton Lockdown, says Wetblend. Good morning from Barrie, Ontario, Canada Lockdown. Because we're all in lockdown already. It's exactly how this works. Then we have 4 points at the end of the battle if you control more than half the number of objectives on the battlefield. And there are bubonic Astartes units within 3 inches of each of these objectives. So 4 points there. Cool. And 4 points at the end of battle if every objective marker is within contagion range, which will expand as the game goes. So that one, if you like building a tough army that doesn't like really doing much and just like sits there and doesn't die and then gets all the points at the end of the game, like that one's actually not bad. Especially if you're playing it right, and it doesn't need to be just core. It could be like anything, and I feel like that one's quite easy to score points for end game. Then we have spread the sickness, which is essentially you select an objective and you do an action, and then after you've done the action on an objective, you literally have to roll a 4+, and if you roll a 4+, you've contaminated the objective marker. Then the unit that performed the action suffers D3 mortal wounds and is contaminated. And that's it. Oh, wait. You choose one of the following. Oh, I thought it was only... See, when I originally read it, I thought it only said you had it on a 4+. So you can either roll on a 4+, contaminate the objective, or take D3 mortal wounds and just contaminate the objective, which is 10 times better. You take 3 points at the end of the battle for each objective that you've contaminated. Cool. So it's like raising the banners, except you make them contaminated. And once you've contaminated the objectives, there's no taking the banner down, nothing. It's contaminated. It's done. It's 3 points for objective, so you'd need 5 objectives to get 15 points. But if you've got 3 objectives near your zone, that's like an instant 9 points. Like that's going to be quite easy to score in match play, which I like a lot. Good morning from the German lockdown, says Patrick Ainzer. Good morning from the German lockdown. Nice, thanks for coming in. Cultist, says George. Suggestion: curl the stash and point the beard. It'd be mad sinister. I know I need a monocle. I think a monocle, and definitely work in the beard. I did get a beard trimmer for my birthday, which you know, makes me excited about, you know, all the cool stuff that I can do with with my beard. Okay, so we go into the detachment abilities. So any Death Guard detachment is one that only includes models with Death Guard keyword, right? Except for stuff that's unaligned. Sure, fair enough. So your army is battle forged. You get disease minions, Infernal Jealousy, Feuilleted Viron, Bubonic Astartes units and Death Guard detachments gains the Inexorable Advance. Plague Marines, Poxwalkers units and Death Guard detachments gains objective secured. So Plague Marines and Poxwalker units in Death Guard detachments gains objective secured. I'm pretty sure this means that cultists are not objective secured in a Death Guard detachment. Which means Poxwalkers are. Yeah, you can tell that they want you to make the army out of Poxwalkers and Plague Marines, right? So, interesting. Hello, Eclipsed. How are you? Morning from the west of the US, which has not done lockdown. Loving it. Sure. Blessings of Papa Nurgle upon you. Thank you, thank you. Ryan, appreciate it. Olive says happy birthday. Thank you, appreciate it. I got a birthday present. I know we're talking Death Guard, but I have to show you my birthday present. This is a bust that John the Cron, who's been on the channel playing Crusade Necrons with me and competitive Necrons with me, and he literally made this out of clay and like tempered it and like literally put it in the kiln and stuff. Like, it's amazing. I can't wait to paint it. It's literally Archon Scary. Anyway, I'm really excited. I really love that, so that's why I'm showing it off. Okay, so Disease Minions is a thing that says you cannot include more Plague Follower units than Bubonic Astartes Core Infantry units in each Death Guard detachment. You cannot include more Poxwalker units than Bubonic Astartes Core Infantry units in each Death Guard detachment in your army. So, you know, you can't have more Poxwalker units or Cultist units than like Plague Marines and Terminators. So if you take like a battalion, you could take, say, a unit of Terminators, a unit of Death Shroud. Guess what? They're core. Yep. And then take one unit of Plague Marines, and then take like 3 units of Poxwalkers, and 3 units of Cultists. Or you could take 1 unit of Terminators, 1 unit of Death Shroud, and then take 2 units of Cultists and 2 units of Poxwalkers. Right, so it's something like that you can do. Those secondaries look really good, and it's good that they want to play Cultists. Yeah, well, you know, secondaries, yeah, the secondaries look great. And that's the thing I love about these new codexes. Having access to different secondaries you can use is fantastic. You know, that's a very important part of, like, now that you can play the game with different secondaries, of course. Excuse me. Infernal Jealousy. So you can only have 1 Death Guard Lord in each detachment. You can only have 1 Demon Prince in each detachment. Which makes sense. Like, that's sort of a trend that we've been seeing, you know, with Tau, you know, things like that. They don't want you to just spam characters, right? It's like a company is supposed to only have 1 captain, so why would it have 3 captains? You know what I mean? So I kind of like that as well. Did Poxwalkers need the limit, especially now Blast and Discussions have worked against them? Yes, you know, because hordes of, yeah, it's just annoying. They're just annoying. So yeah, sure. I think it's more of a lore thing, being like there would always be Plague Marines around. So, you know what I mean? But the fact that you don't have to just take a troop core, you can take like Terminators, means you don't need to take Plague Marines if you don't want to, right? General Rut says, "Good morning. My kitty just woke me up and he felt a disturbance in the force." General Rut's like, "Yes, I made it." So you can have a Chaos Lord and a Prince in the same detachment. Well, it says Lord of the Death Guard. Depends on whether or not they have the Lord of the Death Guard keyword. We'll get to that in a second. But it seems as if you could have 1 Lord and 1 Demon Prince in each detachment. At least from how I read it here. Hello, Ixtab. How are you? Welcome. So we have the Plague Companies. So each Plague Company gives you a Warlord trait, Now, something to keep in mind is the Warlord trait for the play company is quite literally something that affects the contagion rule. And it basically gives it to that Warlord. So the Warlord of a play company will have like a special contagion Warlord trait that'll affect the contagion rule, which is, you know, the range of contagion abilities. Now, the basic contagion that all Death Guard have are, of course, the -1 toughness. We'll get to that in a second. And, you know, each of these different play companies has a specific sort of like contagion rule. So, and then a relic and a warlord and a relic and a stratagem as well. So you can kind of mix and match and choose. Like some of them are different. Like if you're a Death Guard player and you're used to like the iconic the icon clock, the iron clot furnace or whatever, which is like amazing right now. Yes, it had a nerf. You know, the worm spitter isn't like a relic that's there anymore. However, there's other things that you can use. So it's like, don't expect the exact same things that you had from like your Psychic Awakening. However, there's some really cool dynamics in there, and it's going to be up to you as a Death Guard player to sort of squeeze the juices out of these sort of things. Ryan says, honestly, I think the new change allowing scoring at the end of the 5th turn is a really nice change. Yes, I've played a couple of games now with that change, and holy crap, does it make a difference. But that is a topic for a whole other video. However, Death Guard we went to the secondaries, they have some really cool stuff that sort of like is designed for end game scoring, where you can play very conservatively, keep your guys alive, you're really tough, and then end of game, you're like, I'm going to score these points. So if you go second, you know, sometimes that's even better for you. Eclipse says, I think it's also more of a stopgap, so they don't need to nerf Poxwalkers in the future too. Yeah, makes sense. You know, they had to nerf them before when you could just bring them back to life for no reason, right? The Vexing Hunter says, Skari, how the Death Guard doing so far? They're doing disgustingly. So let's kind of go through the different plague companies. I believe there are 7 plague companies or 9 plague companies or something like that. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there's 7 plate companies. Who knew? Let's go through each plate company in turn here. Daka Flaka, hey, how's it going? Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So we have folks from Twitch and YouTube and Periscope and Facebook. So if you don't see like the comments that I'm reading, that's okay, because we're a global community of like-minded gamers. So we have the Harbingers. This is the first play company. I guess, you know, if you're a fluff nut, then the number of the company actually matters. They have a 1 command point stratagem called the Wrathful Dead. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Poxwalker unit is selected to fight, the Harbinger Poxwalker unit. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you reroll hits. So if you like Poxwalkers, you get a 1 CP reroll hits for Poxwalkers. Cool. The Warlord trait is Shamble Rot. Enemy units, not vehicles, within containment range of this unit at the start of their movement phase, so in your opponent's move phase, if they're within containment range, you roll a d6, and on a 4+, that suffers 1 mortal wound. Unless they're a character, then it's a -1. On a 6, that enemy suffers d3 mortal wounds. So anybody within range of the Warlord takes mortal wounds. Sure, awesome. Or has the potential to. Relic is Infected Remains. Harbinger model only. Once per battle, at the end of your move phase, select 1 objective marker within 3. And while the bearer is on the battlefield, that objective marker has a Contagion of Nurgle ability and is considered to have all the same contagion abilities the bearer has. So you can make 1 objective have the Nurgle contagion, but also the Shamble Rot contagion. So that objective would start causing mortal wounds and stuff to things close to it, basically. Which means especially if there's one like in the middle of the table, you could make it really dangerous and just like can kind of kill people around it. Nurgle number would have guessed. I agree. George says Poxwalkers have some pretty awesome strats. Death's a competitive unit. Oh, Poxwalkers are great, and they're fearless, so they're not going anywhere. You have to kill them to a man. That is crazy powerful. I'm concerned how many mortal wounds that Death Guard. Yeah. Mortal wounds, like Death Guard, if there's one thing they can do is do mortal wounds. So like, here's a little game for you. While we go over this trait, try and put a tick or like keep track of how many different units or abilities or stratagems cause mortal wounds, and we'll compare notes. Because I think you'll be surprised. You know, 10 things of the Death Guard will cause mortal wounds. Number 7 will surprise you. The Inexorable, second play company. So 1 command point stratagem. You can use it in your opponent's charge phase at when one of your units is selected to be charged. Until the end of that phase, the enemy unit is -2 to their charge rolls. Oh, I love that. Anything that messes with movement is crazy powerful. So say you combine that by putting, say, a unit of inexorables in, say, a crater or something that's difficult ground. All of a sudden, that's -4 to someone's charge. Like, they literally have to be like right in front of you to make that charge. That's for 1 CP, that's incredibly strong, right? So as a stratagem, I love that stratagem. Just like could stop someone in their tracks. Of course, someone like Space Wolves that have like don't take negative modifiers when I charge. Yeah, so stuff you just have to be careful with those sort of strats. But very powerful strat. Uh, the Contagion Warlord trait is while an enemy unit is within containment range of this unit, each time an attack is made by a friendly inexorable model against that unit, improve the AP by 1. So as long as you're within the contagion range of the Warlord, and we'll see later there's ways to make another unit have the same like contagion abilities as the Warlord with a stratagem, which is kind of cool. So you can have like 2 different units have the same sort of contagion abilities. It's AP -1. And as the game goes on, the range goes up like this, which means then you could have it like within 12 inches, like earlier than not, or with the extra 3 from something like a Death Shroud or something like that. So, and an extra AP is actually not bad, and it's not like on a roll of a 6 to wound or anything. It's like it's just -1 AP, and that's in close combat. That's in shooting, so that's quite strong. And then we've got the Leech Spore Casket. Each time an enemy model is destroyed as a result of a melee attack made by the bearer, select 1 friendly vehicle unit within 18. That model gains a lost wound. You can only gain 3 wounds per turn due to this relic, so you can heal your vehicles around you. Cool. Neat. Personally, I like that one. It's a very like toolkit style one, but I'm not a Nurgle player. I'm looking at this from the rose-colored glasses of a Drukhari player, being like, ooh, that can slow people down. Ooh, that can do that stuff as well. So, Xtab says, I just ordered the cards and the Lord. Nice. George says, no, we already answered that question. That strat is just for an enemy unit. Doesn't care about fly or infantry. Nope, it's just an enemy unit, -2 from their charge rolls. So you could be against something that flies, or infantry, or cavalry, or beast. So quite strong, eclipsed. Danielle McGuire says, eyeballs! I used the Medusa 1 time. And he becomes a sensation. So they can have the special contagion while also having the -1 toughness one. Yeah, so basically the Warlord trait gives them the next ability. It's like another contagion. We'll kind of go through it, but you can have multiple contagions, especially on like your Warlords. Like your Warlord traits in this case are special contagions, which is pretty cool. Started the stream at 5 a.m. You, sir, are a legend. Greetings from the UK. Thank you, Balada. Yes, absolutely. This is what I do when there's new books. We hang out, we chat, you ask questions, we go over pretty much everything and get rid of all the blurry potato picture information that you get from, the internet. Daniel says, then use it again. Fine, I'll try put it in as soon as I can. Disgusting, says Caleth. Ooh, I love it. Then we have Mortarion's Anvil, the third play company. So this stratagem is in your opponent's charge phase again. When an enemy unit finishes a charge move, select any number of Mortarion Anvil units from your army within 3 inches of that enemy unit, and those units are eligible to perform a heroic intervention. So any units that are within 3 inches just get to heroic intervene. Vehicles, everything else. That can be very, very strong. And yeah, that can be very, very strong. This warlord has the following ability, so the glowing bloat. So there are two things that happen when you're within range of this contagion. The first one, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend. Cool. Number two, each time a model makes an attack, the hit roll and the wound roll cannot be re-rolled. Super, super powerful. Now, the reason I say super powerful is because when we get to Mortarion, Mortarion has 3 Death Guard Warlord traits, and at the start of the battle, he gets to pick one of the 7 Warlord traits of the Plague Companies. So whichever Warlord trait from the Plague Company you want, Mortarion just gets to pick one per game on a game-to-game basis. So literally, you'd be like, oh, that person has lots of rerolls. You can literally give Mortarion a no reroll aura, right? Being like, you can't reroll hits or wounds against me. Take that, you know. Or there's other ones, but it's so good. Or you can have like a demon prince just like nigh unkillable. He's like, I'm so disgusting. Look at me, I've got more flesh to lose. Hannibal Lictor, good greetings from France. Greetings from Canada. I wonder if you're going to do the Drukhari Codex review, says Caleb. Are you serious? Are you seriously asking whether or not I do the Dark Eldar Codex review? Please, Games Workshop, let me do it, please. I'm literally at the whim of the Games Workshop gods that be. So if I don't get the Codex, then I won't. But hopefully I will. And thank you, Games Workshop, for letting me do this. I really enjoy these. These are really fun. Okay, the 4th Plague Company, the Wretched. So, 7-fold blessings, 1 CP. This is a when you're building your army stratagem. You select a Wretched Psyker from your army. That model knows an additional psychic power, and once per psychic phase, you can re-roll 1 psychic test. So if you want to have like a Psyker that can re-roll tests or whatever, cool. And then the contagion for this one is, while an enemy unit is within contagion range, each time an attack is made by a friendly Wretched model against that unit, an unmodified roll of a 6 automatically wounds. So you get like the Black Templar thing. You roll a 6 to hit, auto wound. Sure, okay, cool. Santa Demon Prince, yeah. Good morning, Alexander Tepe, what's going on? From Germany, nice, thanks for tuning in. Greetings from Germany, another German, Solve. Says, man, the book looks awesome. Can't remember when I've been so excited for 40k. Yeah, it's exciting. Death Guard are one of those, I would have played Death Guard back in the day. Literally, legit. That would have been my Chaos Army. But my mum bought me Black Templar Terminators. And then I just went down the Imperial path. So, and now I played Dark Eldar. Did he skip the 3rd Plague Company? Oh, I skipped the 3rd Plague Company relic. Sorry, Scott. Sorry, Scott. The Mortarion's Anvil relic is called the Warp Insect Hive. Each time the bearer makes a melee attack, you can reroll hit rolls and you can reroll wound rolls. So, reroll hits and wounds for a Demon Prince. You know, sounds pretty scary to me. Does the 3rd relic one work on all attacks? Melee attacks. So not with your shooting attacks. That's my relic right there. All in caps, says Robert Baker. I'm glad you're excited about it. The relic for the Wretched is a Plague Caster relic only. So the bearer's Pestilent Fallout ability is replaced with the following ability. So instead of getting its, whatever that one is, we'll get to that in a second. Each time this model successfully manifests a psychic power, if the result of the psychic test was a 7 or more, the closest enemy unit within 12 suffers D3 mortal wounds. Otherwise, the closest enemy unit within 6 suffers 1 mortal wound. Sure. So you can do more mortal wounds, like an extra smite. All melee attacks is pretty sweet for a relic when you get to reroll all wound rolls. Believe me, I know. My Jin Blade Archon, he knows. Then we've got the 5th Plague Company, the Pox Mongers. A 1 CP strat. All of them are 1 CP, which is great. So, like, Really cheap strats. That's good. Poxmongers. Stratagem in the shooting phase when a demon engine unit is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit may make attacks with blast weapons against units within engagement range, which means you can shoot your blast weapons into combat. Cool. Each time a ranged attack is made against an enemy unit that is within engagement range, add 1 to hit, which would then offset the heavy penalty if you have a heavy weapon. Interesting. I like that. And it's a Poxmonger Demon Engine. Cool. Sounds super exciting. You know, if you've got like, I don't know, Defiler in combat or a bunch of little Blight Holders or something that has like blast weapons, sure, that sounds great. Then we've got the Warlord trait. No Death Guard, don't take heavy penalty. Sure, they're hitting on 2s. Awesome. That's even better, says Robert Baker. It's just when you're shooting heavy weapons into combat, if it's a heavy weapon shooting into combat, you get a -1 to hit. That's just a rule for shooting with a vehicle or monster into combat. Okay. The Contagion ability. While an enemy unit is within contagion range, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models. Subtract 1 from combat attrition tests. Now this doesn't sound like a lot, but there's other ways that you can get an additional -1 to combat attrition tests. So you're going to make units take -2 to their combat attrition tests. So on 1s, 2s, and 3s, models will be running if you make them fail morale. Then if the unit's under 50%, it's on 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s that they would be running. Think about that for a second. You just make them fail a morale test, and on anything but a 5 or 6, more models are running. Like, that's substantial. So, they ignore that. It's like their infantry ignore movement penalties. Part of their Legion trait, says Marques. Okay, fair enough. So they don't suffer the heavy penalty for shooting into combat. Interesting. Sure. Awesome. We'll get to that when we do. The Ferryman doesn't work against Space Marines, though, says Solve. Yeah, that's true. Does not work against Space Marines because they don't suffer penalties or negative modifiers to their attrition tests because they shall know no fear. That is also correct. However, they can't re-roll morale tests anymore. Okay, so we've got the 6th Plate Company, the Ferrymen. So on droning winds, so this is in your command phase, you select 1 Feated Viren model and select one of that model's aura abilities. Until the start of your next command phase, you add 6 inches to the auras, to the selected aura, to max of 12. So you can have auras be bigger with, certain characters that have auras. Awesome. Warlord trait, Contagion. While an enemy unit is within contagion range, at the start of your opponent's movement phase, halve the enemy's move characteristic. I think that's very powerful, personally. Like, as soon as you get, like, your Warlord with this trait near the enemy, or a unit that has this contagion, because you can kind of give a unit that contagion, slowing all your opponent's models down. Doesn't matter if they fly or not, you just slow them down. Like, that is huge when it comes to a game where holding objectives is really important. And just going, you have half movement, like, that's really dangerous, especially against such a slow army as Death Guard. You get up to there, you're in contagion range, boom, you're slowed down all of a sudden. And it's like any enemy units within contagion range, right? And that could be game winning. Like, slowing your opponent down is crazy. Imagine flying like a Demon Prince in the middle, being like, everybody's slow now. Like, it's going to be so hard for opponent to this. Fiole says, hello, Scary. Hello. Thanks for having us to discover that with you. Yes, thank you. Xtab says Morty, ... Yeah, you can do it with Morty. Like, slow everybody down. Nobody running away from him now. And then the relic itself. You're getting ahead of yourself there, George. That is an insane contagion. Movement is the most important stat in 40k, and halving. But yeah, I know, right, Mark? Like, I was reading that and I was like going, that's crazy strong. People who know the game understand, like, slowing things down and stopping people from moving and things like that are some of the most powerful game mechanics just to win the game. So being able to like physically say, I'm going to stop you from like halving your movement, like, oh, it's so good. So good, right? Um, but it also means something like, technically, when you're in base-to-base contact with someone, you're like touching them. So if they only move like, say, 5 inches, or say half, say 6 inches, and they can move 3 inches now, and they can fall back from you, for example, they fall back 3 inches, technically they're still within 3 inches, right? So you could then heroic back into them and punch them again. And then the Ferryman's Scythe is a model equipped with a Man Reaper only, so it replaces a Man Reaper, and it's essentially you can do +3 -3 2 damage, or +1 -1 1 damage, -1 to hit if you were doing the -3 2 damage, or 3 hits instead of 1 with the Scythe. So it's just like a special Man Reaper that does lots of attacks. Sure. And last but not least, Mortarion's Chosen Sons. Good day from the bush in Western Australia. Hello, sloppy gamer. Sloppy, eh? Well, you came for sloppies. That's true. I just got here. Can you start at the beginning again? No. You can just, like, go to the start and watch the whole thing. Kind of catch up as we go. You can scroll the video to the beginning. It's kind of how that works, especially if you're on YouTube. So Mortarion's Chosen Sons has the Plague Brewers. So you use it in the shooting phase when a Mortarion's Sons unit from your army selects to shoot. Till the end of the phase, Plague Belchers, Plague Spurt Gauntlets, Plague Spewers that are equipped in the unit have damage of 2. So you add +1 damage to your Plague weapon things. Cool. That's neat. For 1 CP, it's like +1 damage to like these 3 specific weapons. Then we have Warlord traits, Nurgle's Fruit. It's a contagion thing again. While an enemy unit is in this contagion range, each time an attack is made by a friendly Chosen Sons model against that unit, the target does not receive the benefit of cover. Okay, fair enough. You could combine it with stuff or whatever. It's like having an extra AP, but technically it's just against range. Well, technically it's also in combat if you're in heavy cover, right? Because it just says an attack. So you don't get the benefit of heavy cover if you're like fighting in close combat as well. So that's kind of neat. And then the Vomit Tricks. A model equipped with a Plague Sprayer only. And it basically turns the Plague Sprayer into a 12-inch Assault 7, Strength 7, -3 2 damage, Plague Weapon, and a Flamer, basically. Which is kind of cool. Max says, I'm so glad they did not take the 4+ invuln bubble away. So freaking glad. That relic seems bonkers. Where? Oh, I didn't even talk about the Icon Clot Furnace. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so the Poxmongers did get their Iron Clot Furnace, which is... Thank you very much for reminding me. So it is in the command phase, you pick 1 Demon Engine within 6 inches that has a 4+ invulnerable save. So instead of an aura of 4+, it's just you pick 1 unit. It's not as good as it used to be, not nearly as good, but you can keep like 1 of your Demon Engines units. Yeah, so it's a Demon Engine unit, so it could be like a whole unit of them. I wonder if you can give the Furnace these special contagions. It can infiltrate in, and you can automatically put an anti-movement bubble in a vital part of the board. Well, actually, why don't we check that? That's a cool like thought process you're having there, Mark. Okay, who's excited about stratagems? Let's take a look at some of the strats that we have access to, and we'll go from there. I like stratagems. Stratagems are super fun. Ah, delicious. I do want to say thank you for tuning in to this very early stream, wherever you're tuning in from. I love doing these streams, and I really appreciate everybody who just hangs out and kind of hangs out with these streams for me. Of course, if you like to, make sure you click that like button, click the sub, notifications, and I've got the Patreon page. So you can always support me on Patreon if you like what I do and like to see me do more of these on a consistent basis, since this is literally what I do. That's the plug for the plug god. Plug god! Okay. Insane that you are up casting. Good evening, morning. Hey, Brinjar, what's going on? I've been at it for 40 minutes already. Well, technically got up earlier than that. So, trench fighters. 1 command point. Death Guard Plague Marine unit selected to fight till the end of the phase. If it is equipped with Plague Knives, makes 1 additional attack with its Plague Knives. So, +1 attack with your Plague Knives. Cool. Praise be the plug god. Exactly. Please let them get the +6-inch plague weapons. They do have +6 inches to a range of weapons. They do have it in there. I'll tell you that right now. Creeping Blight. In the fight phase, Death Guard unit from your army is selected to fight. To the end of the phase, every time a model makes an attack with a plague weapon, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 has an armor penetration characteristic of -4 for 1 CP. So roll 6s to wound, -4 AP. Cool, so that's good when you need to get through some armor. Hello, Tarzan. Bonjour, ça va, monsieur? Fire Fever. I love all these names. The stratagems are hilarious. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase when a Death Guard Hellbrute model selected to shoot. If it shoots at one thing, so you don't split its fire, it gets +1 attack, +1 to hit, +1 to wound. I personally really like that stratagem for 1 CP. It makes Hellbrutes like a multi-meltar, like, actually kind of cool. +1 to hit, +1 to wound. It's not terrible. Just read the 4+ and been happy. Just read the 4+ and been happy. Yeah, it's a big nerf. It's not like an aura anymore. Vermid Whispers. So use a stratagem in your shooting phase when a Death Guard Terminator unit from your army is selected to shoot or fight. You get +1 to hit. So basically the Fury of the First or whatever, Death Guard get that too. +1 to hit for your Terminators in shooting and or combat. Haze of Corruption. Now this is a 2 CP stratagem. Use it in the fight phase when a Death Guard core unit is selected to fight. Now this is Plague Marines or Terminators or Death Shroud or a Hellbrute, for example. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model is destroyed by an attack made by a model in that unit, any excess damage inflicted by that attack is not lost and is instead suffered by another model in that unit. Oh, that would be great on a Hellbrute with a fist that does at least 3 damage. That would actually be kind of nasty when a little Hellbrute walks in and is like, Haze of Corruption! And then all the damage carries over. Anyway, but you can also use it on, like, other stuff, right? So, like, it doesn't really, like, help much in that sense, because it's, like, the only thing I could see it really working with is, like, the Death Shroud Terminators have a close combat weapon that is multiple damage, and they have like 4 attacks each, so 5 attacks on the charge each. So you've got like these guys coming in with like 2 damage weapons. You use Haze of Corruption on them, and all the damage spills over. Oh, they're just gonna like cleave through stuff and be like, "Brah!" And like all the damage is going back. It's so good. Damage to weapons is pretty decent for hordes. Yeah, exactly, right? I like that one. I think that's one of my favorite strats, because it's just like, yeah, I don't care if you're 1 wounded models and I have 2 damage weapons. You're all going to die. Eternal Hatred. Use it on Bubonic Astartes infantry in the fight phase. Oh, or shoot phase. So when they shoot or fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model at you makes an attack, add +1 to wound. So you basically have a 2 CP Veterans of the Long War. Except it's 2 CP now. Okay, so it's a little bit more expensive than it was. Mutant Strain. In the fight phase, when a Poxwalker unit is selected to fight, you get 2 abilities with the Poxwalkers. An unmodified hit roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. So you just do mortal wounds on 6s to hit, which is really dangerous. If you want to, you can combine it with the reroll all hit rolls. Fishing for those 6s with your Poxwalkers. Mortal wound galore. And then an unmodified hit roll of a 1 inflicts mortal wound on the Poxwalker unit. That one time when you're rolling with 6 with your Great Plague Cleaver, it kills 6 guys. You'll be very legendary. Well, it's only core units, though, with Haze of Corruption, so you can't use it for characters. Mutant Strain could be good, depends on how many attacks you can get, yeah. If you can get them up to 3 or 4 attacks, that could be sick. Yeah, right? It's kind of fun. Diseased Effluence. So, remember when we said, let's take a look at how many Mortal Wounds Death Guard could do? Okay, I hope you're keeping track. Okay, that was one. And then there was another one. So that's 2. Then there's another one that's like 3. So I hope you're keeping track. Hey, Robbie says, how's your birthday? My birthday was fantastic. 34 is suiting me well. Same as 33. But I do feel good. Thank you very much. Use this stratagem in your command phase. Select a Death Guard character model from your army. Not a demon model, so you can't do it for Demon Prince. And one enemy unit within engagement range of that model. That model suffers a mortal wound, and then you roll 1d6. On a 2+, the enemy unit suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. If that enemy unit has a character keyword, it only suffers d3 mortal wounds instead. Unless it's a vehicle, in which case it's still 2d3. So 2d3 mortal wounds for a command point in close combat, like that's like, if you're in combat with these characters, like they're gonna start mortal wounding you to death. That's double smite that's unblockable. Yeah, for 1 CP. Yep. But it's in your command phase, so it'd be like if you're locked in combat over time, right? Or if they charge you and you're like, ah, and then you go, I'm gonna puke on you. Blah! I'm gonna fart on you and shit all over your face. Anyway, you know, I feel like that's what Death Guard would be like. A monkey be like, poop fling. Exactly. Unclean. I could just picture it like movie style, being like giant, like just like this huge bloated like dude like walking up, and he just goes, blah, and just like pukes acid everywhere, and like everybody's like, ah, my face, you know? They're like, yeah, that's like such a good movie scene right there. Great tool for bottom of 5 to grab velocity. Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Unclean Machine Spirit. So this is an epic deed stratagem, of course. I'm not going to bother with those names. 1 CP. Use it in your command phase. Select a Death Guard Machine Spirit model from your army. Till the start of your next command phase, that model is considered to have full wounds for what characteristics on its profile. I'm not sure what has Machine Spirit, but we'll check to see. A Land Raider does, I know that. But Land Raiders don't get the Disgusting Resilient rule, which is sad. So, maybe, you know, it's 1 CP to act as full profile, but let's see how many things could use it. Befouled Incubators is the next one. Stratagem in the fight phase. When a Death Guard character model is selected to fight. Until the end of that phase, each time an enemy model is destroyed by an attack made by a model, roll a d6. On a 3+, that enemy model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound after your model has resolved all its attacks. A max of 3 mortal wounds can be inflicted per phase. So you kill models, you can roll dice. On 3+, mortal wounds happen to the unit, up to a max of 3 mortal wounds for 1 CP. So, once again, more ways of doing mortal wounds. And this one can be used by any Death Guard character, so Demon Prince included. You'd be like cutting through them, mortal wounds, all that good stuff. Release the Toxins. This is a 2 command point strat. In your command phase, select 1 Death Guard character model from your army that was equipped with a Relic of Decay. Okay. At the start of the battle, I mean, like, that's when they were equipped with the Relic. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 7. On a 2 to 5, that unit suffers a mortal wound. On a 6, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. A model can only be selected for the stratagem once per battle. But you can use this on multiple models if you have multiple relics of decay, right? They can be like, release the toxins, mortal wounds. Is everybody using their mortal wound bingo card? Yep, that's another one. Eruption of Filth, 1 CP. Use a stratagem in any phase when a Death Guard character model is destroyed. Instead of using any other rules that are triggered when a model is destroyed, example, Putrid Explosion, before moving that model, roll a d6 for each unit within 3, excluding Nurgle units. Now, you'll notice that whenever something explodes in this Codex, anything that's Nurgle doesn't get affected by the explosion. because it's just puke and filth, and they don't care. Excluding Nurgle units, on a 2 to 5, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So when a character dies, they die and explode. Amazing. Champion of Disease. That's this one up here. Use a stratagem before the battle. This is basically pick a sergeant or champion, and you can give them one of the relics of decay. Either the Reaper, Plague Skull, Plaguebringer, or Suppurating Plate. Sure. And that's it. The Suppurating Plate did take a big hit, in my opinion. Mortal Wound Bingo, says Sammy. Yeah, Mortal Wound Bingo. We can all get behind some Mortal Wound Bingos, can't we? Gifts of Decay. This is your standard extra relic. However, when you're mustering your army, if your Warlord has the Death Guard keyword, that's something interesting to note. You select one Death Guard character and give them one Relic of Decay. So you can only get, like, use the extra relic if your Warlord is Death Guard. That's interesting. I don't think I've noticed that before, right? Which means that if you're running multiple detachments, you know, and you say wanted to run like a demon detachment, you can't make, like, if you take a Warlord demon, then you can't use the extra relic, right, on the detachment with the Nurgle. Interesting, right? So many, my custodians will cry golden years due to Death Guard. Yeah, so many more mortal wounds and -1 damage. Brutal. Yes, the winner actually dies due to taking so many mortal wounds. Binga! Ryan, thank you for that. That was hilarious. Plague Chosen. That's the next one. Let's get back on track here. Use this stratagem before the battle when you are mustering your army. If your Warlord has a Death Guard keyword, select a character model in your army, not named character, and give them a Warlord trait. You can't do it for a named character, but this is your extra Warlord trait one. Also, Gifts of Decay you can use like twice in a strike force, and then 3 times in an onslaught battle. Right. So you can. So that's the same sort of thing. Cool. Pretty standard stuff there. Then we have the Grandfather's Influence, which is 1 or 2 command points. Use a stratagem before the battle when you're mustering your army. Select a Death Guard Chaos Spawn unit. That unit gets +1 toughness, and that unit gains the Disgustingly Resilient ability. So you can still grab Spawn and make them Disgustingly Resilient. If it's 3 or fewer models, it's 1 CP. If it's 4 or more models in the Spawn unit, it is 2 CP. Cyclic Corrosion. It's 2 CP. Use a stratagem in either the fight phase or the shooting phase when a Death Guard model makes an attack with a plague weapon that scores a hit against an enemy unit. So once the plague weapon hits, you use a stratagem. Until the end of the turn, each time an attack is made by a Death Guard model against that enemy unit, reroll wound rolls of 1. So you can hit something with a plague weapon, and then everybody that shoots at that unit, not just with plague weapons, gets reroll 1s. Nice. That's 2 CP, so if you really need to like kill a unit, you're like, I need reroll 1s, and then you just like focus on it. It's useful. Belching Fumes. Use the stratagem at the start, and this is any attack, so you use it in the fight phase too, which is cool. But it's until the end of the turn, so you could shoot a unit, right? You shoot a unit and then charge it later and get reroll 1s, and then in close combat you could fight a unit with a plague attack and then do it on another unit, so you could actually do it on 2 different units. That's kind of cool. Belching Fumes, 1 or 2 CP. Use a stratagem at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select 1 Mephitic Blightholder unit from your army. And then until the end of the phase, every time an enemy model makes an attack with a ranged weapon against a unit, reduce the number of attacks made by that weapon by 1 to a minimum of 1. If it has 2 or fewer models, it's 1 CP. If the Mephitic Blightholder unit is 3 models or more or whatever you get, is 2 CP. So that's really good for like now multi-Meltars are only 1 shot against your Mephitic Blightholders, keeping them alive a little longer. This works for plasma scepters. There you go. Works for pretty much everything. It's -1 shot, right? So, it'd be really good for against plasma scepters for sure. I don't think it would work against eradicators because eradicators shoot twice, right? They don't get. Yeah, so so it wouldn't really work against eradicators, but it would work against like multi-melters and stuff. Since they have 2 weapons each. Yeah, exactly. It'd be really good against them, Sammy. Yeah. Blight Bombardment. So this is basically the one that they previewed. Select a point on the battlefield, and it's like orbital bombardment. Is anybody ever going to use it? Maybe. If you have a Lord of Virulence keyword, it's 2 CP, otherwise it's 3 CP. It's just like a orbital bombardment. Sure. It's just D3 mortal wounds to stuff within 6 inches or whatever. Another mortal wound strat. Hooray. Death Guard, the Death Walk Again, or the Dead Walk Again. That's this one up here. Use it in your command phase. Select a Poxwalker unit from your army and roll 7 dice. For each 3+, one of the destroyed models in the unit just come back with 1 wound remaining. Models added back to the unit can be set up within engagement range of enemy units that are already within engagement range. Each unit can only be selected for the stratagem once per battle. So if you have 3 or 4 Poxwalker units, each Poxwalker unit can be Dead Walk Again, used again. Roll 7 dice on 3+, they come back to life. Why 1 wound rate? I don't know. Poxwalkers have 1 wound, so it's just. I think it's just wasting ink. If you were, maybe there'll be a way later where they get multiple wounds. Whatever. All I know is that they're 1 wound. So it's basically bring Poxwalkers back once per game for each Poxwalker unit for 1 CP. So that could be actually really useful, especially towards the end of the game. You've got like 1 or 2 Poxwalkers on a backfield objective, and your opponent's like, yes, I can clear you from that objective. Mwah, 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 mwah. And then you're like, the Dead Walk Again. And then you bring back some models, and they're like, now I have to shoot with more stuff. Just joined, says Breacher. How's it overall? Pretty stonk or meh? Stronk? I think it's pretty good. So far, I've been liking a lot of the mechanics. There's some really strong game mechanics that you can mess with the Death Guard. And, it's definitely not, like, there's a couple of things that might stand out and are pretty strong. And I'm going to leave the judgment to my Death Guard playing colleagues that play Death Guard to kind of find the best combinations. Could see stringing them out for end of turn scoring. Yeah, that sort of thing. You could, like, port them out or steal an objective off someone or, do a bunch of different stuff, right? And it's in your command phase, right? So think of this. You use it before the end of the command phase to get onto an objective that you weren't on before to get primary points. Now, that's game winning for 1 CP, right? That's absolutely game winning. Cloud of Flies nerf, but still good, says George. Max says, I hope the grenade strat's still there. It's different. So Cloud of Flies, you start of your opponent's shooting phase. So now it's instead of like having to do it at the start of the turn or whatever, start of the opponent's shooting phase, you pick an infantry unit from your army or bubonic Astartes infantry unit. That's so you can't shoot it unless you're within 12 inches. If it has the bodyguard ability, it does lose the bodyguard ability. So if you do it on like Death Shrouds, you can't they can't save your characters with the Cloud of Flies trait. And if you have the Terminator keyword, it's a 4 CP. So if you want to keep your Terminators alive, it's expensive. If you want to keep like a unit of Plague Marines alive, it's not as expensive. It's Death Guard Fire and Fade, says General Rot. I know, it's kind of cool, but it's even stronger because it happens in the command phase. You could literally be like, I'm going to steal this objective away from you at the start of my turn. Like, it's crazy when you think about it, with the kind of shenanigans you can pull with something like the Dead Walk Again, making them very, very strong. Break Their Spirits. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when a Death Guard terminate a model from your army, destroys a model in an enemy infantry, beast, or swarm unit. Until the end of the turn, subtract 4 from the leadership of models in that unit. So Terminators can be scary if they kill stuff in combat. If you're using any of the leadership shenanigans stuff, that would be a good one to remember. Dark Cravings. In your opponent's charge phase, select a feated bloat drone unit from your army. That unit within can basically heroic intervene within 6 inches. Yeah. So make a feated bloat drone heroic intervene. Now, if it has a lawnmower, that's even better, right? Because it can lawnmower stuff to death. That's a 6-inch heroic intervention for a bloat drone. That's not terrible for 1 CP. That's always annoying, like especially if they have like a little unit end game trying to steal an objective off you or something. You've got like a lawnmower waiting. It's like, get close to me. I'll buzz you. I'll buzz you good. Demonic Gluttony. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when a Death Guard Demon Engine model from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model is destroyed by an attack made by that model, that Demon Engine regains 1 lost wound to a maximum of 3 regained wounds per phase. So you can combine that with, say, for example, the like the other Warlord trait or relic or whatever that we had, where if you killed stuff, you could heal models as well. So you can like heal from like that one plague company plus heal with this with demonic gluttony. So like you could heal a like a defiler, say, 6 wounds in a turn, which mean that's half its wounds pretty much. Bring it back, kind of do its own thing. It's kind of neat. Flash Outbreak. So this one here is the one I was talking or alluding to earlier in the stream. So this one's really fun. Remember, we went over like the contagion abilities and things like that, right? Which is cool. So use this stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 plague company unit from your army. So this could be any plague company unit, right? If there are any other plague company units from your army on the battlefield that have any contagion abilities that the selected unit does not have, then until the start of your next command phase, the selected unit has all of the same contagion abilities. This is in addition to the ones it already has. So, for example, I have given my Mortarion, well, not necessarily Mortarion ones, but I've given my Demon Prince a contagion ability. Warlord trait. Cool. The one that slows people down, for example. And now I've got my Plague Company Terminators that are walking up the table, getting close to the enemy. I can use Flash Outbreak and say my Demon Prince is on one side of the table. All of a sudden, my Terminators have the same contagion abilities as my Demon Prince. So now they get all the cool special abilities from that contagion in addition to like the -1 toughness, things like that. So now you can sort of have like a large bubble of that contagion for that one turn or whatever where you're like, I need to slow you down, or I need to really do some damage, or I need to take advantage of that contagion rule and just be like, boom. Plus there's some units that have bonuses to their contagion ranges, right? So, well, Chaos Lords and stuff have that bonus built in. But, things like Death Shroud Terminators have that bonus built in, for example. So you can really kind of, like, get the most out of your contagions there. The second part of this is until the start of your next command phase, units from your army count the battle rounds as 1 higher for the purpose of determining the contagion range of any contagion abilities they have. So not only does it allow you to get 1 unit to, like, double up on contagions, it allows you for your whole army to count the battle as 1 higher for the contagion range. Which just, like, for that, like, key turn where you're like, okay, I need everybody to be -1 toughness. You'd be like, boop, you expand the range, you get those bolters out, you spend your CP, and you just, like, you kind of deliver a killing blow. So I think that's cool. Christopher Pullman says, I find it interesting how loyalists get codex supplements while traders get full codexes. Yeah, well, who knows? But yeah, it's how it is nowadays. Breacher might be as strong as Space Marines. Yeah, this is, like, there's some cool stuff in here, and I feel like the more you practice with it, and there's going to be some really neat stuff that we haven't even, like, started to think about yet. Putrid Detonation, 1 or 2 CP. A Death Guard vehicle model destroyed. Does the auto explode, basically. If it has a characteristic of 9 or less, it's 1 CP. If it's a 10 or more wound vehicle, it's 2 CP. So you can still auto-explode, but it's more expensive if you have a big explosion. Foul smoke screen. So if you have the smoke screen keyword, -1 to be hit in the shooting phase. Ulver says, I don't think Marines are the top dogs to compete now anywhere. Sisters are for me. Interesting. Sisters Battle have some really cool stuff. The Blightening. Here's Johnny. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase. Select up to 3. So this is the grenade strap. So it's different now. So listen. You don't get the every model in a unit can throw grenades anymore. That just doesn't happen. So use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select up to 3 Death Guard models from your army. Until the end of the phase, plague weapons with the grenade type that those models are equipped with lose the blast ability, but have a characteristic of pistol 6. And each time that model makes an attack with one of those weapons against an enemy unit within engagement range, that attack automatically hits the target. So it's 1 CP, you select up to 3 separate Death Guard units that are basically in close combat or not in close combat, like they just, they have pistol 6, so they just get 6 shots no matter how. So one dude is going to throw 6 grenades, doesn't matter how big the enemy unit is. If you're in engagement range, they just auto hit. You just auto hit with 6 grenade hits. Now, blight grenades are strength 4, right? So they're good strength. And then, of course, you do have the grenade dude that gives them +1 AP or -1 AP and 2 damage. So, like, there's ways to make that powerful, but it's 1 CP, so it's not what it used to be. However, it has its uses, especially against smaller units. They seem very anti-custodies. So my Death Shroud can have a 12-inch half movement aura on turn 3. Gotcha. Says Solve Aegon. Yeah, yes, they can. Yeah, the Death Shroud are like, you're not going anywhere. We're going to come punch you. Yes, they can. Overwhelming Generosity. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase when a Death Guard unit from your army selected shoot. To the end of the phase, add 6 inches to the range characteristic of plague weapons. So +6 inches to your ranges of plague weapons, still there. Virulent Rounds. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Death Guard core unit from your army selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, bolt weapons. So that's any bolt weapon have the plague weapon ability. Yep, that's cool. I like that one. That's one of my favorites. Then they get all the bonuses for plagues, weapons, basically. Disgusting Force for 1 command point. When a Plague Burst crawler from your army is selected to shoot, until the end of the phase, each time a model makes an attack with a Plague Burst mortar, that attack has a damage characteristic of 3. So just straight up 3 damage on the mortar. After that model is shot, select 1 enemy unit that was hit by 1 or more attacks made with the mortar. Roll a d6 for each other unit within 3 inches, but not Nurgle units. On a 4+, they suffer a mortal wound. More mortal wounds for everyone. So it makes it 3 damage, and then units nearby the target suffer damage as well, or can suffer damage. I hope the Thousand Suns get something this good, says Christopher Pullman. Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised. They've been doing a good job writing like fun, entertaining books right now, which is neat. Lowell says, excited for these new rules? Yes. Seems like they changed a lot more than I expected. Yeah, they did. I feel like it's a great feel, you know what I mean? Like the list itself, like it feels really wholesome in a way. Deadly pathogens. So this is a new sort of like mechanic, and it's not a new mechanic, but we saw this with Chapter Command, right? So that's the Space Marine version. We've seen it with the Cryptek Arcana. That's the like Necron version, and Deadly Pathogens is the Death Guard version, right? So Deadly Pathogens. So if your army is Battleforged and includes any Death Guard detachments, but not auxiliary, super heavy, or fortification networks, then you can upgrade any of the following models in your army by giving them a Deadly Pathogen. So Death Guard character model or Bubonic Astartes models that have the word champion in their profile. So a sergeant can have a Deadly Pathogen. Each time you give a model a deadly pathogen, select one plague weapon that model is equipped with, and you can upgrade that one weapon. This cannot be a grenade or a relic, so you cannot upgrade your blight grenades. Sorry. In addition to the effects listed for that deadly pathogen, so that weapon gets +1 strength. The power rating of the model's unit is increased by 1, and you have to pay points depending on which one you give it. So 20 points, 10 points, 20 points, 15 points, 20 points, 10 points. So maximum 20 points, 10 points for the lower ones. There's one that's 15. Sure. Named characters cannot be given deadly pathogens, and each model can only have one deadly pathogen. An army or crusade force cannot include the same deadly pathogen more than once, but you can have multiple deadly pathogens. They are not considered to be relics for any rules purposes. This means the character model can be equipped with both a relic and a deadly pathogen. However, the relic cannot be the thing that is upgraded by this deadly pathogen. And you can do it as many times as you want, basically, if you've got points. So you've got acidic malady, explosive outbreak, virulent fever, befouling runoff, unstable sickness, corrosive filth, and viscous death. So there's some pretty cool ones here. So acidic malady, +1 AP to your weapon. So +1 strength, +1 AP. Cool. Explosive outbreak. Each time an attack is made by this weapon, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit. This is not cumulative with the Tollkeeper ability. Cool. So +1 to hit. I mean, extra attacks on 6s or extra hits on 6s. Awesome. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target, in addition to any normal damage. Who was keeping track of the mortal wound bingo? Another one. You get a mortal wound, and you get a mortal wound. Says, yeah, that's how the Death Guard feel. Yeah, I'm fairly new to the hobby. Started with the Dark Imperium box 3 months ago, so it's Death Guard and Space Wolves for me. I like them both, and yeah, that's cool. Nice. Zerath Gaming says, I hope Drukhari Codex will be at least in line with the Death Guard decks. I changed my second army from Death Guard to Drukhari at the end of 8th. Dark Eldar right now are filthy, so we'll see how they curb that in the Codex. I got my Death Guard half of the box. First came out, had to basically play another Chaos unit since because Death Guard couldn't compete. Yeah, you picked a good time to start. Lowell says, I started Dark Eldar, Drukhari before the Codex announcement, did Death Guard all through 8th. I'm having high hopes of Drukhari with the detail paid here so far. Nice. I would love to play against the Dark Angels. Awesome. Befouling runoff. So this is just 10 points and whatever, and they do not receive the benefits of cover against the attacks. So you could do it on like a flame or something, or a shooting gun or whatever. Cool. Unstable sickness. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if any enemy models are destroyed by that attack on a 4+, that model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound, to a maximum of 3 wounds per turn. The bearer cannot be selected for the Befouled Incubator's stratagem. So basically gives it to you for free instead of having to paying for CP for it. So more mortal wounds. Corrosive Filth. Each time an attack is made by this weapon against a vehicle unit, add +1 to damage. So if you really need to kill tanks. And Viscous Death. Each time you roll to determine the number of attacks made by this weapon, you can re-roll the result. So if you've got like a weapon that needs multiple attacks or something like that. Good morning, Michael. What's going on? Thanks a lot for tuning in. Drukhari are literally my second pick. Nice. Off. What I heard, they might be pretty stable against Dark Angels, Custodies Will, and Mortal Wound capable. Oh yeah, Mortal Wounds are... We've been literally playing Mortal Wound bingo all morning. That's literally how it works. Okay, so we have our Warlord traits. A Death Guard character model that is your Warlord can use the Death Guard Warlord traits to determine what Warlord trait they have, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Mortarion replaces all instances of Plague Company with Death Guard. So if Mortarion has an ability that helps people, he just helps Death Guard, not necessarily Plague Companies. Death Guard character models replace all instances of Plague Company with the name of their Plague Company. Pretty straightforward. What time is it in the place where you live? It is 6 14 a.m. I've been streaming since 5 a.m. because I love all of you. So click that like button and go to Patreon and help me out. Another plug for the plug god. So, 6 Warlord traits. Revoltingly resilient is a 5-up feel no pain. Check. So you can have a Warlord or a Demon Prince or something with a 5-up feel no pain. And the -1 damage. Awesome. Living Plague. While an enemy unit is within 3 inches of the Warlord, that unit cannot be affected by aura abilities of your opponent's army. So you can basically make units within 3 inches not benefit from auras, which is cool. Like rerolls to hit, rerolls to wound, extra invulnerable saves, a whole bunch of stuff like that. Hulking Physique. So you add +1 to the wound characteristic of the Warlord, and each time an attack is made against this Warlord, basically gives them transhuman physiology. So you can give your Warlord +1 wound and a built-in transhuman physiology. You want a Demon Prince with an extra wound and transhuman physiology doesn't work against him? Awesome. Or a big Terminator guy, be like, nope, you don't wound me on 1s, 2s, or 3s. I'm gonna go murder you now. Arch Contaminator. While a friendly core unit is within 6 inches, a Plague Company core, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, you can reroll wound rolls. So it's reroll wound rolls in combat with plague weapons. Each time a model makes a ranged attack, you can reroll wound rolls with plague weapons at targets within 12. So they did change that. You have to be nice and close to reroll wound rolls with your plague weapons or in close combat. So Arch Contaminator, still there. A little bit different, but still there. Still very, very good. Shame on me, is Scary from Great Britain or Netherlands or something? I don't know. I'm in Canada. Yes, I'm near Toronto, Ontario, if you want to look at it up on a map. Max says, I really appreciate that you got up so early to provide that preview. You're welcome. I enjoy getting up. I got up at 4:30 in the morning, got down, had my coffee, got dressed, combed my beard as much as I could, because literally it was like a mess this morning. Reroll wounds is amazing. Whoa, still really good. Preferably my new favorite so far. Yeah, Sammy. Arch Contaminator is really good. Rotten Constitution. Add +1 to the toughness of the Warlord. Cool. Each time an attack is made with an AP of 1 or 2, it has AP 0. So ignore AP 1 and 2, +1 toughness. Phobius says, I appreciate it too. Thanks, Phobius. I'm glad you appreciate it as well. And last but not least, Foul Effluence, which is an aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this Warlord, at the end of your movement phase, roll a d6 for that unit. On a 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. More mortal wounds. But this one is at the end of your movement phase, so you can move. You can move the Warlord into a position to have everybody within 6 inches be like, mortal wounds. Haha, mortal wounds. You have a sniffly. You have a sniffle. You have a sniffle too. How cold is it in Canada? In Belarus we have around -15 to -20. It's about this. We go to -30 to -40 some days. Just depends on how cold it is. But recently it's been really mild. It's been like -8, -5. I think it was 3 degrees the other day. The turn-off aura Warlord trait is super strong. As a Sisters player, I just cry. Bingo again, says Sammy. That's right. We were playing Mortal Wound Bingo. I hope everyone's catching up. So, Typhus has Shamble Rot, which is page 41. So Typhus uses the Contagion one, so he doesn't have a normal Warlord trait. He is a Shamble Rot one, so just for everybody to kind of rejig their mind. Typhus has Shamble Rot, which is enemy units within Contagion range at the start of your opponent's wound phase, roll a d6, and can take mortal wounds. Okay, so that's Typhus has a little mortal wound or a bubble Warlord trait. Mortarion has 3 Warlord traits from this list, which is Revolting Resilient, so he has 5+ Feel No Pain. He has Living Plague, so enemy units within 3 inches don't benefit from any auras of their friends. And he also has Arch Contaminator, which is Plague weapons, reroll wound rolls, and reroll wound rolls with shooting for plague weapons with stuff nearby, which is super powerful. Then on top of that, remember, he gets to pick one of the 7 special contagions on top of those 3. So he has 4 warlord traits. A double contagion plus 5 of Feeling Pain plus Arch Contaminator plus Living Plague. What the hell? I think he's going to be amazing. Minus 40. Oh, it says fattest rat. Yeah, like, honestly, when it's like that cold, it's not like you hang out outside. You know, you go, you run outside, you turn your car on, you leave your car on and warm it up, right? And then you, like, run to your car and get in, it's nice and warm. Like, you're not really staying outside very often. Only 4, says Tarzan. Yeah, I know, 4 warlord traits. Get out of here, Mortarion. He's like, ha! He's like, my brother ain't got nothing on me, and my other brother did everything wrong. Then we have our relics. I don't think he gets the 4. He can pick one of those. Can he? Ah, maybe, says Andre. Let's double check. I want to double check Mortarion. Just because I'm a really big fan of Mortarion. I think Mortarion's pretty cool. At the start of the first battle round, select one of the following warlord traits. It's just an ability he has. If your army's battle-forged, he must be your army's warlord. And then Host of Plagues, he just gets one of these. He gets this warlord trait in addition to any others he has, even if he's not your warlord. So, yep, Mortarion gets everything. Pretty snazzy. I was looking at him going, you could actually get him, like, all those, and then give him the, like, negative modifier one or whatever, and, like, run him up and be like, or the slow down, and he'd be like, nobody runs from me, you know? So, it's pretty cool. Yeah, he gets all 4, which is pretty awesome. If he's shot dead, those traits don't matter, says Mate. Yeah, 100% if he's shot dead. Is there a limit on how much damage he takes? No, but he's T8, has a 5 of Feel No Pain, -1 damage. He has a decent invulnerable save. Most good tables have something he can hide behind, especially like WTC style. So I would assume, like, especially in the WTC. Sammy says, love your content. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, right, Andre? Right? I'm pretty sure Death Guard covers the best art in the edition. Yes, love the art so much. So, relics. You know how relics work. Cool. Reaper of Glorious Entropy. So, Man Reaper or Plague Reaper only. It's a -3/3 damage, 2 times strength like Thunderhammer. An unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to normal damage. So a Thunderhammer that does -1 AP is -3, sorry, and does mortal wounds. Who had that one on Mortal Wound Bingo? I certainly did. Drukari poisoned Morty away. It's like one of the only ways to get him down really fast. Lowell says, still wondering if Poxwalkers are worth taking, even though my... oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Poxwalkers definitely worth taking, since there's some cool strats for them, like game-winning strats. Plague Skull of Golthila. Once per battle, enemy unit within 6 inches, roll 7 d6s. For each 4 to 5, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. For 6, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Mortal Wound Bingo! I've run out of fingers to count mortal wound abilities. There's another one. Demon's Toll. Max is definitely running lagging, like he lagged a little bit, so it's really funny when he's gonna be listening to what I'm saying right now. We've already moved on to something else. Demon's Toll, the Noxious Blightbringer only. Once per battle at the start of your opponent's moon phase, you can use this relic. Select an enemy unit within 6 inches until the end of the phase. Every time that unit is selected to fall back, roll a d6. On a 2+, that unit cannot fall back and must remain stationary instead. Holy shit, Death Guard get a you can't fall back from me ability. It's once per game, but I tell you, that can be game winning. Absolute game winning. And it's any enemy unit. It's not like only infantry can be held back or unless you fly or nothing. It's just like you just can't fall back. Nuts. On a 2+. Nuts. Like, absolutely bonkers. Crazy. Very interested in Separating Plate was one of the relics I used the most. Andre, it did change, and I feel it got a big nerf. So you can be the judge of that. Right? Fulgaris Helm, add 3 inches to aura abilities. So pretty standard. A lot of armies have that sort of thing as well. Giving mortal wounds like Oprah giving presents. Yes, you get a mortal wound, and you get a mortal wound. Putrid Peritap, Malignant Plague Caster, or Terminator Sorcerer only. So the bearer knows 1 additional psychic power from any discipline it has access to, and once per battle, after successfully manifesting a psychic power, the bearer can regain up to D3 lost wounds. Cool, so it can heal himself. Toll Keeper. This is one of my favorites. I really like this one. It's a Tallyman model only. It's an aura, while friendly Plague Company core units, so Terminators, Plague Marines, more the Death Shrouds, and Hellbrutes. Every time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit. The fact that it works on like any core, right? So like even Hellbrutes and stuff like that, and you've got like multiple shots with like multi-Meltars or things like that, like an extra score of a 6 is an additional hit, or all the bolters score additional hits on 6s, you know, or whatever it is. I like that one. That's a strong one. Revolting Stench Vats, Foul Blightspawn model only. So the Foul Blightspawn did change. It lost its like aura ability of you don't count as charging, right? Now it has like a Judicar ability, which is pick a unit within 3, that unit fights last, right? However, you can give it a relic, which is Revolting Stench. An enemy unit within 6 inches cannot make use of any rules that allowed it to fight first, can never count as having made a charge move, irrespective of any abilities. So you lose fight first, and you don't count as charging, basically. So you could still have one that's very similar to the traditional Foul Blightspawn, but you sort of have to use a relic slot for it as well. Last but not least, the Separating Plate. So the bearer has a save of 2+. That's standard. Each time an enemy unit fights after it makes its attacks, if the bearer lost any wounds as a result of those attacks, roll a d6. On a 2+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Now, this is probably one of the worst worded rules I've ever seen in my life. So I love you, Games Workshop, but I like the way that this is worded. It's after my unit attacks. If that Demon Prince takes any wounds, you roll 1 d6, and on a 2+, I take 1 mortal wound, no matter how many wounds the character took. I'm assuming what you meant to say is roll a d6 for each wound that was lost, and on a 2+, I take a mortal wound. At least I think, and I hope that's the way you do it. But as it's worded right now, it gives 1 mortal wound in return. So it's a way of giving back mortal wounds, but it's definitely not what it used to be in terms of like mortal wound returns, basically. Yeah, they messed up your plate. They messed it up, but there's lots of other cool stuff. So the plate's like on the bottom of the totem pole of the really cool shit, in my opinion. Plaguebringer, model equipped with a Bale Sword or Demonic Plague Blade, Plague Knife, or Power Sword. It replaces all one of those and makes it a +2 strength, -3, 2 damage. So you can even do it on a Power Sword. That's pretty cool. Each time the model is destroyed as a result of an attack made by this weapon, that model counts as 2 destroyed for morale. Cool. So it's 2 damage and it's scary. Ooh, scary. How do you think we'll combat this Codex with your Drukhari? The same way I combat every army. By tackling the mission and going for points. That's kind of how that works. But I like this sword, says Mate. Yeah, especially for like, you know, if you're looking to, you know, stack up all the like attrition tests, modifiers and stuff. You know, you want to make sure that like somebody really fails morale, then you can like make that happen. Then we have the Contagion Discipline. So psychic powers, you've got Miasma of Pestilence, -1 to hit. Cool. Gift of Contagion. Now I like that it's a set thing pretty much now. So Gift of Contagion is Malediction, enemy unit within 18, -1 strength, just standard. And if you roll an 8 or more, it's also -1 attacks. So it's minimum -1 strength, and if you roll an 8 or more on the casting, it's also -1 attack. I kind of like that. It's got like a double stack to it. Plague Wind is a unit with an 18 and visible. D6 for each model in the enemy unit. On a 6, they take a mortal wound, right? So mortal wound bingo, check. However, if you roll a 9 plus for the test, it's every result of a 5 plus does a mortal wound, which can be huge on large units. If you roll half decent, you're like, oh, I rolled a 9, 20 Necron Warriors, now on 5s instead of 6s, you know what I mean? That's really, really cool. It changes the math quite. Why not roll of a 7? Nah, not everything is in the number of the Plague God, sadly. Putrescent Vitality. Select a friendly infantry unit. Add +1 strength and toughness to that unit. Cool, makes them tough and strong. And it's any infantry unit. Curse of the Leper is basically a Witchfire. Roll 7d6 for each dice that exceeds the enemy's toughness. It suffers 1 mortal wound. So more mortal wounds. Don't forget, you have a -1 toughness aura on your entire army. So it's a lot easier to get those mortal wounds than you think if you just want to do a mortal wound build. And then Gift of Plagues is no longer what it used to be. So Blades doesn't exist anymore. This is Gift of Plagues. It is a warp charge of 6 though, so it's easy. Select a friendly Death Guard unit with an 18. Add 6 inches to the range of their contagion abilities to a max of 12. So if you really need an early, like this is you're probably not going to use that one very often, in my opinion. I think you're just going to go for Miasma. I like Gift of Contagion or Vitality, and then if you just want like some Mortal Wounders stuff, you're doing Curse and Plague Wind mainly. Wait, I missed the -1 toughness is on every unit, says Lowell. Well, the Contagion is an aura. So the Contagion ability from like Nurgle in general is you have an aura of -1 toughness that sort of grows. So you can make sure that a lot of enemy units are within -1 toughness. McPherson says, do you think that's a part of a general push towards more specialist factions that don't include demons in Chaos Space Marines lists? Yeah, I could see that. Greets from Bavaria. Your review has sweetened my day at work, at the hospital. Well, thank you for your work on the front lines, Durthu, and I hope you enjoy the review. Contagions are not actual auras. Be careful. Yes, they are not auras. They are contagions. They're not an aura. It just is in an area in which you get affected. But Tristan, thank you for the clarification, because that does make sense when you're like, it turns off auras. Contagions are not like an aura that you can just shut off. Okay, then we have some cool Crusade rules. Traditionally, I don't really go through them. I will be doing some Crusade battle reports with the Crusade rules. We've got like General Rot and Shane and a whole bunch of Death Guard players in this area that play Death Guard. So you will get to see all the cool Crusade rules like as they create their Crusade forces and we build them up, which is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of shenanigans they can do as well. And there we go. Spreads of disease and creating your own contagions and a whole variety and plethora of really cool things that they're going to be able to do, like pathogens. And ooh, you can actually buy demonhood. Ooh, that's cool. Buy demonhood for your character. Yeah, that's exciting. Okay, so then we have the Plague Company keyword. Just explains what the Plague Company keyword is. You cannot include units from 2 different Plague Companies in the same detachment. So you can't like mix and match Plague Company units just to get like access to the stratagem, for example. If you want the different stratagems and relics and stuff, you have to take separate detachments for each Plague Company. Which makes sense. I can see that being a trend for like if you have different abilities, like not only Plague Companies but also the there's Brotherhood companies or Sorcerer companies that the say Thousand Suns can have and whatnot, which is as well, right? You have War Gear abilities. You've got a Plague Weapon. So a Plague Weapon rerolls wound rolls of 1. It's pretty standard stuff. Remorseless is you ignore modifiers to attrition tests, so they basically have and they shall know no fear, but the chaos version. Malicious volleys, so you can rapid fire within half range. You can rapid fire if you remain stationary in your infantry, and if you're a Terminator, you just rapid fire all the time. Discussing Resilient is -1 damage from all attacks. Then we have your Contagions rule. So, Contagion of Nurgle. If every unit from your army, so if you don't combine, say, Nurgle, Demons, and Death Guard, so if every unit in your army is Death Guard, excluding unaligned units, you gain Nurgle's Gift Contagion. So while an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of models in that enemy unit. So this is like the mega trait. If your entire army is Death Guard, this is the trait you get. If you decide to mix and match, you lose this ability. So contagion abilities affect enemy models or units within contagion range. This changes with the battle round number increasing as the battle progresses, right? The effects of multiple identically named contagion abilities are not cumulative. So even if you have multiple units within range, it's not like you have multiple toughnesses, right? However, contagion abilities same contagion applies to enemy unit once. Yeah. Note that while similar in many regards to auras, they are not auras, and vice versa. And, you know, so you can have multiple contagions, different contagions happening at the same time, like from different warlords and stuff. However, this is like everybody gets this like right off the bat. And it's 1 inch, 3 inch, 6 inch, 9 inch, and then all the stuff that adds range to it maxes out at 12. That's like the max that it can ever go. Have you shown the Death Guard's secondary objectives, says Andre? Yeah, they were early on. That was like one of the first things we took a look at. Take 3 drones with flesh mowers, take the half movement warlord contagion, cast Gift of Plagues, run 1 to your opponent's army, give them an aura, repeat. This works, right? You can, so Gift of Plagues you can definitely cast on them, I believe, if you just wanted to like run them up. Let's see. Yeah, so it's just a Death Guard unit, and then the Flash Outbreak is any Plague Company unit. So yeah, I believe so. If they have the Plague Company keyword, you could definitely use that for them. Is Death to the False Emperor gone? I don't see it. I don't see it. It's core only though? Nope. Flash Outbreak is not core only. You just get to, you can literally pick any unit to have the contagion ability of the Warlord, basically, of like double contagion. So you can definitely create some pretty cool shenanigans with that. And then, of course, Teleport Strike. So let's go over some of these these traits and stuff like that. Death Guard Demon Prince, 8 wounds. Has a 5 up invul base. Reroll hit rolls for core reroll 1s. Has 1 psychic power and 1 deny, and knows 1 psychic power. Chaos Nurgle, Heretic Astar's Death Guard, Monster Characters, Psycho Demon, Bubonic Astar's Lord of the Death. Lord of the Death? Guard Demon Prince. So yes, you can only have 1 Lord of the Death Guard per detachment, which means you can only have 1 Demon Prince or Lord. That is also very, very true. Let me just double check that here. Yes. So 1 Lord of the Death Guard. Demon Princes have the Lord of the Death Guard rule. So that is a bit of a bummer. Means you can only have like 1 Chaos Lord or 1 Demon Prince in each detachment. Right? Hey, says Peter. Man, this is early. Well, I've been up for an hour and a half already, Pete. Yeah, pretty nice with the flails. Typhus. He's also Lord of the Death, but he's a Harbinger, right? So he's specific to that. However, you can put him in any detachment, I think. He can be included in any Death Guard detachment without preventing other units in that detachment carrying a Plague Company contagion. This model can only have a Plague Company contagion if it's in a Harbinger's detachment. So it's encouraging you to take the Harbingers if you want to take Typhus. And he's, what is he? He's got 6 wounds, and he's got his Super Cleaver. The host of the Destroyer Hive does, guess what? Mortal wounds now. Within 6 inches in your command phase. So funny. Poxwalkers add +1 strength to them when they attack. So they do +1 strength. That's cool. And reroll hit rolls of 1. And he adds 3 inches to his contagion abilities, because he is a Lord of Contagion. Vector of Disease, so +3 inches to contagion for him. So Death Guard Chaos Lord is also a Lord of the Death Guard. They also have the 4-up invulnerable save and just reroll 1s to hit. Cool. It's just a Lord. Then we have a Death Guard Lord in Terminator armor and has a 4-up invulnerable save. Same thing. Also Lord of the Death Guard. Has abilities like a Lightning Claw or stuff like that. Super fun. We lose Hateful Assault though. So we don't get an extra attack, we get it sometimes. Also harsh. Space Marines have to be better than Chaos, that shows me principle. Well, that's true. However, this book has so many ways to kill Space Marines. Yeah, you don't get a lot of attacks, but there's lots of ways to like get reroll wounds or mortals and things like that. So it offsets the fact that you don't get as many attacks. Like Space Marines just get a bunch of attacks because that's what they rely on. Just like, we're going to punch you with a bunch of us. And they have very few models, right? So every model they lose an exponential number of attacks. But then they have an Apothecary. F that guy. That Apothecary is busted as all F. I think this is better than the Space Marine book. And the jury's out there. So leave a comment down below if you like this book. If you don't, also let me know. Click that like button. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss other reviews like this. Because as Codex comes out, I'm going to be doing reviews for everything. And if you haven't already, head on over to the Patreon page. Click that link in the description. Another plug for the plug god. Lord of Virulence. So the Lord of Virulence is a Lord of the Death Guard as well. So he is a Chaos Lord essentially in Terminator armor with a Twin Plague Spear, which is like 2d6 strength 5 shots, which is cool. We saw him. He does have Lord of the Death Guard, so reroll hit ones of 1. He does have another aura, which also means that units within 6 inches, unmodified wound roll of 6 is an extra AP. So that could be pretty useful, you know, compared with like plague weapons and things like that, like reroll wound rolls with like if you're gonna do the reroll wound rolls aura warlord trait and then have him around or make him that, right? And then you could like fish for those extra 6s, you know, stuff like that. There's cool little combos you can do there. Lord of Contagion. So he's also a Lord of the Death Guard. However, he's like essentially a Terminator Lord. However, he has a Vector of Disease, so he gets +3 inches to his Contagion auras, just standard, which is cool. And he does have a 4-up invul save, and he does rerolls of 1 for core within 6. And he's got his Man Reaper, and yeah, so he's got like cool stuff there. And he's got an Orb of Desiccation. Orb of Desiccation. Ooh, he's got a special grenade. Nice. 6 inches. Grenade 3d3. You can use it once per game. Strength 4, -1, 2 damage. Grenade 3d3? That's actually not bad. Does this affect that grenade, or is it only Blight grenades that it affects? Okay. So Blight grenade. He only affects Blight grenades. He has a cool grenade. That's actually really neat. And he's 5-inch movement now, so he's not as slow anymore. Wow. 3d3 blast weapon. It's just strength 4 -2 damage. That's a pretty hefty grenade. That's like 9 grenade shots with a plague weapon grenade that's 2 damage. I don't know about you, but that sort of stuff, like, I look at it and I go, whew, that would scare the hell out of my little Cabalite warrior units. Insane troops usually translates into insane army. True. They gave most units an extra attack while taking Hateful Assault away, so kind of a wash. Scott. Interesting. Yeah, makes sense. Like, there's 5 attacks on this Lord of Contagion. The Sorcerer has 4 attacks. He can manifest 2 psychic powers, deny 1. He knows Smite and 2. Cool. Malignant Plate Caster. So he, every time you successfully manifest a power on a 7 or more, closest enemy unit within 12 suffers a mortal wound. That is a way to give that a relic where it's D3 mortal wounds, and then, or 1 mortal wound if they're further away. So more mortal wounds for everyone. Can manifest 2 powers and deny 1 power. And these are HQs, so you're pretty much going to be running like 1 Lord and 1 Sorcerer, like in your list, pretty much. Or 1 Demon Prince and 1 Sorcerer. But you're going to have a Sorcerer, you're going to have a Lord. Unless you want to run a Patrol, in which case you can just take a Lord. Sure. I don't think you'll need more than a Patrol anyway. Plague Marines. So Plague Marines, up to 10 in a unit, so they've kind of gone down. They have 2 base attacks, they're 2 wounds, they're T5, they have Disgustingly Resilient. Icon of Despair. In your morale phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within engagement range. On a 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Or the Sigil of Decay. Each time an attack is made with a bolt weapon by a model in the bear's unit, an unmodified hit of a 6 automatically wounds the target. Oh, that's cool. Nice. Who gets the sigil? Sigil. 1 Plague Marine is equipped with 1 Icon of Despair. 1 Plague Marine is equipped with a ball can be equipped with 1 Sigil. Huh. Nice. So you can have like automatically wound on 6s to hit in the unit directly. Nice. With bolt weapons. And mortal wounds to everybody in base to base. This book drops today. It's up for pre-order today, Pete. What are the special weapon limitations on Plague Marines? Goonhammer said they're different now, apparently. So, a Plague Champion knife can be replaced with Demonic Plague Blade, which is essentially Demonic Plague Blade. Where is that? +1 strength, -1 AP, 1 damage. So it's like nothing crazy. Plague Champion's bolt gun can be replaced with Plasma Gun. Oh, the Plague Champion can take a Plasma Gun. Nice. Plague Champion can be equipped with a Power Fist. Plague Marine Balkan can have 1 Blight Launcher. 1 Plague Marine Balkan can be with a Plague Spewer. So you can have 1 Blight Launcher and 1 Plague Spewer. If it has 10 or more models, 1 additional guy can have a Blight Launcher or a Spewer. So you can have 1 Launcher, 1 Spewer regardless. If it's 10 strong, you can have a 2nd Launcher or a 2nd Spewer in addition to the other one. For every 5 models, you can have 1 Meltagun, 1 Plague Belcher, or 1 Plasma Gun. So you can have another 2 Plasma Guns in a 5-strong unit, or a Plague Belcher. What's a Plague Belcher? Assault D6 Flamer. 12-inch Flamer. Okay, so it's a Flamer, basically. For every 5 models in this unit, 1 Plague Marine can be equipped with 1 Plague Knife. For every 5 models, 1 Plague Marine bolt gun can be replaced with an axe. For every 5, 1 bolt gun can be replaced with a Mace of Contagion and an axe. What's a Mace of Contagion? Oh, a 3 damage weapon for every 5. And an axe. 1 damage. Okay, well I like the mace. That's pretty cool. 3 damage. Remember when we were saying that you could like have damage carry over? That's really neat. The mortal wound count is insane. Yeah. Does this mean I can take 2 flails and 2 cleavers in a 10 strong? So for every 5 you can have 1 mace. For every 5 you can have 1 flail. So each unit can have 1 mace and 1 flail at 5, or 2 maces and 2 flails at 10. And then a mace is 3 damage, and a flail is 2 damage, and of course you can use the stratagem to have damage carry over. So if you have multiple damage weapons, and then you can also have the power fist on the champion that also does multiple damage. So you could have a bunch of attacks going in, right? So that's pretty cool. I like that. And for every 5 units, you can have 1 Great Plague Cleaver as well. And the Great Plague Cleaver is D6 damage. So you can have in a unit of 5, you can have 1 mace, 1 flail, 1 great plague cleaver, and a power fist on the sergeant, which are all multiple damage weapons. Then if you go to 10 strong, you can have 2 maces, 2 flails, 2 plague cleavers, and the sergeant. They're all multiple damage weapons, which means that they are crazy dangerous with that damage carryover strat. Whoops. What's the AP and strength on the mace? That's nuts. We made the box with not enough special weapons, so now you can just take less. Yeah. What's the AP and strength on the mace? So the mace is plus 2 strength, minus 1 AP, 3 damage. The cleaver is times 2 strength, minus 3 AP, d6 damage. And then the flail is plus 1, minus 2, 2 damage. So there's some good, like they actually have a chance to hit pretty hard in combat if you wanted them to. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. There's a great plague cleaver, so they showed you what it looks like. Yeah, plasma guns and stuff. Nice. And then you've got your icons, which can do mortal wounds or make your bolters better. So that's pretty neat. Now, but now you can say that plasma plus blight rather than 2 blight. So weird. Yeah, yeah, it's weird. It's a little odd, but it's it's a big choppy axe. Yeah, that's the big choppy axe, the plague cleaver. I like that though. In conjunction with that, it's kind of confusing. So read that a little carefully, the Nurgle people, and but you'll if you read it well and then understand it, you'll find some cool combos with it. I'm sure. Flail is still D3 attacks. Flail doesn't automatically transfer over damage anymore. It's just as many attacks as you have. However, with the flail, you get 2 hit rolls instead of 1 for each attack you have. So each flail is actually 4 attacks. Because, yeah, each flail will just give you 4 attacks. And they're 2 damage each. And the damage can carry over. Ugh. How does the banner make bolters better? I just got here. Malkyr. The Sigil of Decay just lets them, or unmodified hit rolls of 6 automatically wounds. So you just roll a 6 to hit, it auto wounds. And flails get 1 extra attack because they keep their base knife. Yes. Yeah, the plague knife. Plus, you can have, this makes me afraid to fight Death Guard with my 1200 points of Drukhari. Can Death Guard take secondaries of this book if they demon soup? Can you check? That's an interesting question. Like the secondaries? If every model in your army has a Death Guard keyword, and your Warlord has a Death Guard keyword, you can, in match play, use these secondaries. So only if you're full Death Guard. So then we've got Death Guard cultists, which is interesting because they are Plague followers, but not Poxwalkers. And I'm not sure Plague followers gain the objective secured rule, but I want to double check that. I'm pretty sure they did. Where is it? Oh yeah, never mind. Oh no, only Plague Marines and Poxwalkers in Death Guard detachments gains objective secured, which means Death Guard cultists are not objective secured in a Death Guard army. Interesting. Using the old school Plague Marines for warband size is so different now. So different. You can make blight launchers out of heavy bolters really easily. That is also true. So then we have Poxwalkers. They're just strength. They're toughness 4 now. Typhus can make them strength 4. They hit on 4s. They have 2 attacks each. They don't do actions. However, they're autopass morale. They're obsec, and they're fearless. And then they kill stuff like infantry. If you kill anything but a vehicle or monster, you gain models back. So you can kill bikers and other stuff, and beasts and cavalry, and you get a model back, which is interesting. So they changed that. It's not just, they don't have to just kill infantry anymore. They can kill a whole bunch of stuff. Joshua says, how many wounds does a Poxwalker have? 1 wound. No, it was just a stratagem that brings them back to life. Says they come back with 1 wound remaining. They only have 1 wound. It's just GW being more wordy than they need to be for stuff that doesn't make sense. So now we get to the characters. Now these are the, like, as a Death Guard player, you're probably super excited about like the different characters and what the different characters kind of like auras they give you and stuff like that. So let's dive into these. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that like button and leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from if you tuned in early. Poxwalkers are inured to suffering too, says Oscar. Yes, they do have a 6 up feel no pain, basically. So they have a 6 up feel no pain, they don't have a save, they can come back to life, they can regenerate themselves, they're fearless, they're obsec. Like, Poxwalkers are good. They're decent. They all, what's sorry? Reduce 2 damage to 1 before taking. Poxwalkers do not have disgustingly resilient. They if you hit them with 2 damage weapons, they're taking 2 damage. Tarzan says, comment. Thanks, Tarzan. Is there another unit with the Poxwalker keyword? If I see it, I'll let you know. Oh, damn, they don't have disgustingly resilient. No, they don't. They're just Poxwalkers. They're just T4 and have a 6 up feel no pain. Whoop-de-doo. They're fearless, though. Yeah, they're just native T4, so they're good. Okay, so Noxious Blightbringer, the guy with the bell. So he is a Foeted Viron or whatever. Now you can take multiple of these Feated Viron models, like 3 for the cost of 1, I believe is how that works. Sickening Vitality is an aura, so core units or Plague Company Feated Viron units, so the other characters, basically, within 6 inches, they get +1 to move and +1 to advance. So he makes them a little faster. And while enemy units are within 6 inches, subtract 1 from combat attrition tests. So you can combine that with the other thing that's -1. So you could have -2 to combat attrition tests against armies that modify that, plus some cool ways to lower leadership or make people fail easily. Like you could make people run on 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s if they're under 50%. So there's something to be said about that. Maybe something to explore? Who knows? Have cultists changed at all? Well, they can be up to 30. They have... so it's power rating 5 for 20 models. So just 20 models of power rating 5, sure. They can have brutal assault weapons. They can have a flamer, heavy stubber. Pretty much the exact same. They just lost obsec. They're not obsec, which is an interesting game mechanic. Foul Blightspawn. Oh, Empiric Malaise is another aura. While enemy psychers are within 6 inches, -1 from psychic tests. So are you going to see him often? I don't think so. He seems very, like, meh to me. But you can... Don't they have a baked-in 6+++? Only Poxwalkers do. Cultists are not OPSEC anymore. Correct. Foul Blightspawn. So this is the guy... So big change here. They did nerf him. His weapon only does 2 damage. Right. Now, it is a Plague Sprayer, is 12 inches. Assault D6, Strength 7, -3. So it's just Assault D6, has a set strength now, has a set AP, it's 2 damage. And it's a flamer, so it automatically hits. He does have an Unholy Death's Head Grenade. Nice. It's a 2d6 grenade, strength 5, -1, 1 damage. And you can use his special grenade once per game. But of course, if you use a grenade, you're not shooting your Plague Sprayer. So when are you using your grenade? Probably never. Because why would you instead of using your Plague Sprayer? Unless it's like your blast weapon. So unless you're like throwing it at a big unit and you're like, take 12 hits with a super grenade. Or 12 shots with a super grenade. Sure. He does have his Putrefying Stink. So he gets a 3-inch aura of you fight last. Yeah, the Foul Blightspawn was really OP. Of course, 100%. So now he just has an aura of fight last, and there's a relic to let him have like his old don't count as charging aura, but that's a relic now. So are you still going to see them? Yeah, I could still see them being used. You know, they're definitely not going to be as obnoxious as they were, but you'll still see them. Biologus Putrefier. So he has a Hyper Blight grenade, which is a D6 grenade, which is strength 4 -1, 2 damage, and he can use it all the time. He has Blight Racks, so Bubonic Astartes unit within 6 inches with Blight grenades, which is strength 4 grenades basically, have -1 AP and 2 damage. So he still improves grenades. He has Putrid Explosion, so he does explode on a 4+, so within D6 inches. Except Nurgle units, remember, Nurgle units don't die. Good morning, the sad and lonely gamer. Select one, not all. Select one, yes. Select one unit within 3 inches to get the fight last aura. So it's not an aura, it's pick a unit within 3 inches to fight last. One unit. Like the Judicar, basically. How many data sheets in total, Scary? I didn't count them. I'll count them later. Definitely not as many as Marines get. Can we agree on that? I think we can. And Foul Infusion, so once per turn at the start of your charge or fight phase, you can select one friendly core unit within 6 inches, and until the start of your next command phase, each time they make a melee attack with a plague weapon, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts a mortal wound on the target, in addition to any other damage. More mortal wounds. There you go. See, that's another one. Foul Infusion, he literally goes, pokes a unit, gives them 6s or mortal wounds when you roll wounds in combat on a core unit. So your Terminators, your Plague Marines, whatever. So I think he's going to be useful, if anything, because being able to, like, reroll wounds, for example, with, like, the Warlord trait with Plague Weapons, and then getting mortal wounds in addition to, and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of damage output coming out of these guys. Tallyman. So the Tallyman is different now. So he has malicious calculation. So you get to pick one core unit within 6 inches in your command phase, and every time they make an attack, add +1 to hit. So he basically picks a unit, that unit gets +1 to hit until the next command phase, basically. And it's close combat and shooting. So he's just going to be like, you get +1 to hit. You get +1 to hit. Like, I like that. That's cool. Ian says, hello, Mr. S. Hello. Get to catch you live from once as I'm not working. Nice. That's fantastic. Tallyman is pretty cool. And the 7-fold chant, at the start of the command phase, you just roll 2 dice. And it's at the start of the command phase. So technically yours and your opponent's. Oh, that's cool. If this model's on the battlefield, on a 7+, you just gain a command point. Of course, it's 1 gained command point per battle round, right? So that's kind of how that works. But you get a chance to roll every command phase just to get a command point. So do I see people taking a Tallyman? Yes. Yes, I do. +1 to hit for free. Just be like, you get +1 to hit. And then a free command point pretty much every battle round. I like him. I think you'll see him. Then we have the Plague Surgeon. So everybody was bemoaning the loss of the 5-up Feel No Pain. So Plague Surgeon is like an apothecary, but not busted. He doesn't get the I can bring back stuff for free. However, he does have he can heal a friendly Astartes infantry model, Bubonic Astartes infantry model, within 3 inches to gain D3 lost wounds. So you can heal a character, you can heal himself, you can heal a Terminator, whatever it is. So you can still heal models. And while a friendly Astartes infantry unit is within 3 inches, they get a 6-up Feel No Pain. So most of your Terminators, your Death Shrouds, like the infantry units, your Plague Marines, they get Disgusting Resilient for -1 damage, and if he's around within 3 inches of the unit, they get a 6-up Feel No Pain, which then you could say give him the helmet to then increase it to 6 inches if you really wanted to. So you can still have a pretty decent chance of survival, which I think is really, really useful. Malker says, plus it's a cool model. Yeah, he is a cool model. But I really think you're going to be seeing Plague Surgeons as well. These 3 are by far my favorite right now. The Putrefier, the Surgeon, and the Tallyman. Then we have the Blight Lord Terminators. Mwah, 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 mwah. Like, who knew that Terminators were going to be so cool? So they have 3 wounds. They're toughness 5. They move 5 inches. They have a 4+ invulnerable save, right? So they're really tough to get rid of. I still haven't digested the absence of Blades of Putrefaction. Well, instead of Blades of Putrefaction, just get the Biologous Putrefier to stick them with a syringe and make them have that instead of having to cast it as a psychic power. Can you pick more than one surgeon? I believe so. I believe you can have more than one surgeon. I don't think they have a 0 to 1. Do you think it's a good update for the Death Guard? Yes, yes I do. So any number of models can have the Bale Sword equipped, replaced with an X. Cool. For every 5 models, 1 Combi Bolter can be replaced with Combi Flamer. For every 5 models, 1 Combi Bolter can be with Combi Melta. For every 5 models, 1 can be replaced with Combi Plasma. So you can't have like all Plasmas, all Meltas, or all Flamers. Sure. Okay. For every 5 models, 1 Combi Bolter can be replaced with 1 Blight Launcher or 1 Reaper Autocannon. Reaper Autocannon is 4 shots, only 1 damage still. Man, why do they? Why does Chaos get the shitty autocannon? For the Tallyman, the 1 Force Aug slot. So Phobius, these characters, you can have up to 3 of these characters taking up 1 elite slot, basically. So you can have 3 characters as 1 elite slot because they got the Fated Viren keyword, basically. Wait, no spamming Meltas? WTF! No spamming Meltas. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. Then again, you don't need Meltas. You got so many mortal wounds that you don't care about armor or toughness. For every 5 models, 1 Combi Bolter can be placed with his Plague Spewer. And for every 5 models, 1 can be replaced with a Flail. Cool. The Flail is good, you know. Of course, you can only have 1 in every 5, which is a bit of a shame, so you need 10 of these Blights to have a Flail. So, Blight-Load Terminators, not as like killy as they used to be. It's very, very resilient, a lot more resilient than they used to be. Where I think the army's going to shine are these Death Shrouds. These Death Shrouds, in my opinion, are the ones that take the most out of like all the strats that we've read so far. Like the carryover damage in close combat, the ability to like use the contagion abilities of like the Warlord, like that sort of thing. Can I have a Plague Spear and a Combi Melta in the same unit of 5? Can you have a Plague Spear? So you can have a Combi Melta and you can have a Plague Spear. Yes, yes you can. You can have a Plague Spear, 1 Plague Spear and 1 Combi Melta. So Death Shroud Terminators, they come up to 6 strong. Yeah, I believe you can have it to 6, right? If you want. They have 4 attacks base. Sergeant has 5. That's a lot of attacks. They have Man Reapers and Plague Spurt Gauntlets. So they have a Flamer weapon, D6 Flamer weapon that's strength 3, sure. But the Man Reapers are the big ones. They can either cleave, which are -3 AP, +3 strength, so strength 7. But remember, they have a -1 toughness aura. So it's like being strength 8, even better. And they are 2 damage. But each time an attack is made, it's -1 to hit. So they're -1 to hit. However, you can give them +1 to hit with the Tallyman, because they are core, or you can give them the Stratagem of +1 to hit, because they're Terminators, basically, in combat and in shooting. Or you can do Scythe, which is you can make 2 attack rolls instead of 1 at +1 strength, -1 damage. So they have 4 attacks each. That means they'd have 8 attacks each per Death Shroud Terminator. You know, it's only -1 AP, but if you need to clear some hordes, like that's some good amount of attacks. Cool, I don't have to break my models and redo them. That's good, that's good. Now, they have some cool abilities. Number 1, they have the Chimes, so that adds 3 inches to their contagion rules, right, that this unit has to max to 12. So every contagion rule they have is +3 inches, kind of like the Lords of Contagion and the characters that have that rule, for example. But it's cool because then you can use the stratagem to make them benefit from their Lords, and then they get extra. So they're going to be, like, Death Shroud Terminators, I feel, are going to be, like, monstrously good in this new book. They also have 3 wounds. They're disgustingly resilient. They have a 4-up invulnerable save, and they are a bodyguard. So while a character unit that has a wounds characteristic of 9 or less, so Demon Prince, Lord, Surgeon, like any character, right? Um, enemy models cannot target that character unit with ranged attacks. So they have the bodyguard keyword. It doesn't matter if the character is the closest model. As long as the character is within 3 inches of the death shroud, you cannot shoot those characters. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. 1 for 5 of each. These guys look so busted, I guess I'm going to have to get 2 more boxes. Yeah, these Death Shroud Terminators, in my opinion, are going to be the money. Then we have the Hellbrute. Good old trusty Hellbrute. He has Contagion rule. He does have -1 damage, not doubled up, so he doesn't have both, you know, Monstrous Resilience and Disgusting Resilient. He just has -1 damage. If he has taken any wounds, so if he has 7 or fewer wounds remaining, he rerolls wound rolls of 1 because he's angry. And he does explode normally, so he can explode and kill like Nurgle stuff as well. However, he can have like Hellbrute fists and stuff like that, which are like 3 damage, or a Hellbrute hammer, which is d6 damage, and he is core, so he could benefit from the damage carries over stratagem with 5 attacks. Right, go in with 5 attacks with a d6 damage weapon with damage that carries over. If you like, like there's some cool combos. Plus, they're core, so you can have access to the Tallyman with this relic to get extra hits on 6s. There's like all these cool combinations. You get reroll 1s to hit as well. So I like can get the Reaper also. It says Lord of Contagion, yeah. But if they cost 50 points a model, don't they? Sure. Yeah, but if you have 5 of them, it's 250 points or whatever. Like, that's not terrible for like a unit that is that resilient, that can just murder your face, and they can teleport if you need to or whatever. Then we have Death Guard Possessed. And look at how small this like entry is. It's like Death Guard Possessed, tiny little entry. Big keywords are core, so they gain the core keyword. So they get benefits from all the core stuff. And their mutations are plague weapons. So they get to reroll wounds and things like that. They also have 4 attacks each. They're AP 2, right? So they have, and they're disgustingly resilient as well. So they've got some like crazy, and they have a 5-up invul. So all in all, like, they're like a sleeper. Like, they're not bad, and they're relatively fast, moving 7 inches. However, they are, it's funny because their unit entry is tiny. Then we have the Chaos Spawn. They are a fast attack choice. They are not core. However, you can make them T6 with, of course, the CPs. They come from 1 to 5 in a unit, so you can have 5 in a unit. And you can give them Disgustingly Resilient for the -1 damage with their 4 wounds. And, of course, they have their cool abilities and stuff. They are -1 Leadership Aura, which is interesting. And they can be AP4 or attacks 3d3 each. So they each get 2d3 attacks now, instead of what, d6 attacks or whatever it was before. So 3d3 attacks, or reroll wounds in close combat. And they're AP2 and 2 damage base. So like, I think you're still going to see Spawn. They move 7 inches. Like, you can't really give them an invul save or stuff anymore, but they're not terrible. No greater possessed for Death Guard? No, I did not see any greater possessed. Sorry. Seems like that is one thing that they have decided you don't get access to, which is a shame. Then we have the Mephitic Blighthaulers. 1 to 3 still in the unit. 9 wounds base on each one still. Disgusting Resilience. They're contagions. They do explode on 4s, but don't affect Nurgle units. They have a 5-up invul save. And -1 to hit in combat. They did lose their projecting a cover bonus aura, it seems. Thank you. Do -1 leadership stack with another -1 leadership weapons or strats? Yes, Lowell. Yeah, Lowell. 100%. Doesn't only 10 to 20 box work make the combat patrol box unable to be used on its own? I'm not sure. I don't know what's in the combat patrol box. Feated Bloat Drone, 1 in a unit. I was hoping they'd go into units of like 1 to 3, but there's just 1 in a unit. They still move 10. They now have ballistic skill of 3s. They are demon engine, they fly, they're a vehicle, they have the Plague Company keyword. So you either have a flesh mower, which is now like 3 hit rolls each, so times 4, that's 12 attacks at -2 damage and strength 7, or 2 plague spitters, which are d6 strength 6, which is now doesn't so they don't bracket anymore. They're 9 wounds, they don't bracket. It's just like the same every time now, which is nice. Strength 6 -1, 1 damage, auto hit, or they can have 1 heavy blight launcher, which is 36 inches, so long range, 6 shots, strength 6 -3, 2 damage, plague weapon. So you can have like long range ones, the flamer ones, which we know and love, or the flesh mowers, which are, in my opinion, some of the fun ones. Feated bloat drones with flesh mowers are bonkers. Yeah, 12 attacks going in. Remember, flesh mower, 2 damage, right? So they can go in, do some damage on some intercessors or whatever. They also carry the contagion with them. So -1 toughness means that their strength 6 in combat or strength 7 is actually going to be more like strength 8, in a lot of situations. So that's pretty cool. And the fact they don't bracket means they stay pretty standard for the entire time. Plague Burst Crawler. So they're, 12 wounds. They have their entropy cannons, which are now plague weapons base, if you want to do that. They're D3 plus 3 damage at AP 4, strength 8, so it's like a super last cannon, minimum 4 damage. 1 shot, they're a plague weapon as well, so reroll wound rolls of 1 minimum. They do have their heavy slugger, which is pretty much the exact same. The plague burst mortar is now just straight 2 damage, D6 blast plague weapon at -2, 2 damage, but you can have the strat that makes them 3 damage if you really want. Or you can have the plague spitters as well. Or a Rothal volley gun. Interesting. Strength 6, -1 AP. 5-up invul save, disgusting resilient, it is a contagion, and it does normally explode. So it explodes normally. Cool. Then we have a Chaos Land Raider, which is the same as every Land Raider ever. However, it's one of the only Machine Spirit units, and one of the only Smokescreen units. So only the old stuff has Smokescreen and Machine Spirit, apparently. So you can't give it Disgusting Resilience anymore, which is a shame. I wish you could give it -1 damage. That would be amazing. For the Feated Viren thing, can you take 3 different buff characters in the same slot? Or is it 1 elite for a surgeon, but you can take 3 surgeons? I believe it's just the character Feated Viren. It's not the same. You can just take 3 Feated Viren keyword units. So you can mix and match. Have a Tallyman, a surgeon, and a biologist, for example, all in the same elite slot. Predator Annihilator, which is the last cannon predator. I'm not going to go into much detail about these. These have been around forever. If you're curious about like how that works, cool. The Defiler's fun. It is Smokescreen. It is also a demon engine. So one of the only demon engines that can have the -1 to be shot at, which is cool with the strat. It is 14 wounds, it does move 8 inches, it does degrade, but it is a demon engine, so it can heal itself back up with like the cool demon engine stuff. A Defiler with like the Ironclot Furnace for the 4-up invulnerable save would be really cool. It does regain 1 lost wound. It does not have Disgustingly Resilient, however, which is a shame. Like, why wouldn't you want a cool Nurgly Defiler? And if it explodes big, and has a variety of different like weapons. The Scourge is 3 extra attacks at -2, 2 damage, plus 4 strength, so strength 12. They have 5 attacks each, so it would do 8 attacks if it had a Scourge. And the claws are 16 strength and d6 damage. Cool. It's not core though. What do you think about the Plague Burst Crawler? The Disgusting Resilient rule is a bit to a nerf, and also with the 4+ invul are not available, they seem a lot worse. Yeah, they might be worse, but, they're more of a support unit. They're supposed to be a support unit. I think there's much to be said about the new Plague Marine layouts that you can have, like close combat Plague Marine layouts and stuff. And I think the big strength of the list is in, like, the Terminators and the Poxwalkers, to be honest. Oh, Max, don't tell me that. They took away the 4++, says Lowell. Well, they nerfed it. it's now only one unit can get a 4++. So Chaos Rhino, exciting. Then we have Mortarion. So Mortarion is a bit of a tank. His datasheet has been out for a while, so you've seen his datasheet before. Go check that out. He's got just the regular stuff. Biggest thing is when he's the Warlord, he has the 3 Warlord traits. So he has a 5-up, Feel No Pain. Enemy units within 3 inches can't benefit from their friendly, like their auras. And he does the he has the reroll plague weapon rules, plague weapon wound rolls, stuff like that, which affects his plague weapon. So he literally has reroll wounds, and he affects everything around him with that. And then he gets to pick one of the plague company warlord traits in addition to that. So he literally has 4 warlord traits, and at the start of the first battle round, he gets to pick the warlord trait, the contagion ability that he wants for that game, which is so powerful. Because you'd be like, this game, I need the one that slows you down. This game, I need the one that does mortal wounds. This game, I need the one that does that. I think that's fantastic. So cool. Wait, so for contagions, the warlord has to one as their warlord trait, and then they can't take a different warlord trait? Well, you can take contagion as a warlord trait instead of a regular warlord trait, basically. Because it's a warlord trait, and then they can gain a warlord trait special contagion trait, basically. Stay away from Mortarion. Got it. Yeah, Mortarion is beefy. He's 18 wounds, -1 damage, 5-up Feel No Pain, 4-up Invulnerable Save, or whatever it is. Like, he counts the round as being turn 4 for contagion, so like almost max battle round or whatever. Or max battle round for the contagion. Artillery Plaver Scroll are really good now. The Flamer one kind of sucks. Yeah, like the last cannon ones are great. Tom says, good morning, you filthy poxwalkers. Good morning, Tom. You missed like the entire show, buddy. T8 Morty? Yeah, he's T8 now. Arc doesn't work on himself. It's for core units. Sure. Awesome. I don't think he needs it. He gets to reroll 1s with his plague weapons. And he's super strong, and he's -1 toughness aura. Well, not aura, contagion, because it's not an aura, we went over that. I want to see Venom's Pew Mortarion to death. That is true. So he can manifest 2 psychic powers and deny 3 psychic powers, and he knows Smite and 3 powers from contagion. He's also a Supreme Commander, he's a Lord of War, so you can take him as Supreme Command detachment, which means he'll pay for your patrol or battalion. Then we have a Miasmic Malignifier. Yeah. So it's essentially just like a 12 wound vehicle that can infiltrate up the board. It counts the battle round number as battle round number 4 for the purposes of contagion range. Right? It does have the Plague Company keyword, which is important. Which means that it can be targeted by the super stratagem of pick a unit that that you want to have all the contagions on. What's the name of that stratagem? I'm going to pull up the strat name. Flash Outbreak, because it is the Plague Company. So you can pick it, and then that one could also have all the contagion abilities of a unit in your army, right? So if there are any other Plague Company keywords or whatever that have contagion abilities, that so we could have that. It does explode on a 4+. So it does have an aura. Any Death Guard infantry units wholly within 6 inches get the benefits of light cover. However, if the unit was already benefiting from light cover, you have to get -1 to hit against them. And it's both in close combat and in shooting, which is cool. Then you can set it up 12 inches away from stuff, etc., etc. And then you've got this little extra piece that's essentially an obstacle that has light cover, heavy cover, unstable, difficult ground. basically. So you can put this within 6 inches of this, or wholly within 6, and create like this cool little defensive position that is, you know, annoying, basically. That Feated Viren rule is making me insanely jealous. That's crazy good. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really cool for like stuff that has all that stuff as well. Stealth Infiltrator, Covert Ops, Plague Furnace, yeah. Goonhammer rates it as the best building rules-wise, but it might just be too hard to deploy any building useful. Well, it's only on like a 50 mil base, so out of all of the ones, it's hard to deploy. That's the thing. In a lot of places, because of the ways that terrain gets placed, it's hard to put it anywhere. Right? That can be really hard. How's the reroll ones to hit? Is it like the Masonries now where it targeted one unit? So reroll ones to hit is an aura for core, right? So that's Lord of the Death Guard. So each core unit within 6 rerolls ones to hit. But he does get to pick one core or Death Guard character within 6. And then until the start of the next command phase, you can just reroll hit rolls. So it's a core or a character. So is he a Death Guard character? He is a Death Guard character. So he could pick himself and be like, I get rerolls to hit. Or any other unit. But yes, he gets to pick one as well. Tom says, what did I miss? Start from the top. You can scroll the video all the way to the beginning, Tom, and start from there. What's the difference between Malig Mag and Feculent Narmal? Well, one's Death Guard and one's Demon, I would assume. You're welcome, All Is Dust. And then, of course, we've got all the different weapon profiles and whatnot and things like that. And then some point values. So Death Guard Chaos Lord is 85 points. Most of the options are like 10 points each, and a couple of 5-pointers. So, you know, depending on what you want to run with them. Chaos Lord in Terminator Armor is 105 points with, you know, 10 points for Chain Fist if you really want to do that. Death Guard Demon Prince is 140 points with Wings. Would be 175 points. And the Sword is 10 points. The Axe is 10 points. The Spear is 5 points. About 180 points for, or 190 points for a Death Guard Demon Prince. A Sorcerer in Terminator Armor is 110 points. Stock Lord of Contagion is 120 points. If you want to give him the Super Grenade of Doom, it's 5 points. Lord of Virulence is 120, just standard. Malignant Plaguecaster is 95. Typhus is 165. Where's the... Sorcerer and Terminator Armor, 110. Okay, there we go. Troops. Cultists, 5 points a model. Plague Marines, 21 points a model, which honestly is very reasonable. They're 1 point more than a Primaris Space Marine. They get -1 damage, in addition to being basically a Primaris Space Marine. Like, that's really good for Plague Marine, to be honest. Right? I have no idea how anyone ever kills Mortarion in melee now. Between -1 damage, 4++5+, no one getting Aura Bust and being able to choose the no rerolls contagion, says McBurp. Yes, exactly. Being able to be like, nobody gets reroll hits and wounds against Mortarion. And then just like run in and be like, ha-ha, you know. That's awesome. Does the FAQ override it? How does the FAQ points fit with this codex? I'm not Games Workshop. I have no idea. Making the fire just seems like something for your opponent to use extra with charge in the middle of the board and then kill. You could also put it in your deployment zone and have it just keep one of your infantry units alive near an objective, right? So you could do a variety of different things with it. I think using it up the board is a mistake, says McWerp. True. Better as toughness multiplier for your Plague Marines. Yes. Crazy copy-paste of the Narmal. Yeah, 21 points for 2 wounds, -1 to T5 due to spicy Seraph. Yeah, super spicy. Plague Marines, 21 points. Poxwalkers, 5 points a model. Why would you ever take Death Guard Cultists instead of Poxwalkers? That's beyond me. Okay. Putrefier, 65 points. Blightlord Terminators, 40 points a model. Not terrible. 3 wounds and -1 damage and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Death Guard Possessed, 24 points a model. Right? So that's only 3 points more than a Plague Marine. Just keep that in mind. Death Shroud Terminators, 50 points a model. Definitely cool. I like them a lot. I think they're going to be, they're money right now. Foul Blightspawn, 75. Hellbrute, 115. Multi-Meltar is 5 points, so 120 with a Multi-Meltar. My opinion, great choice. Noxious Brightbringer, 60. Plague Surgeon, 75. Tallyman, 70. Almost an auto take. Fast Attack, Spawn, 23 points a model. Wow, that's still really cheap for 4 wounds. It's not bad. Feated Bloat Drone, 130. Flesh Mowers, 5 points, so 135 with the Flesh Mower. Blight Haulers, 140. They went up significantly. Chaos Land Raider, 285, 300 points. Chaos Predator, 130. Destructor, 140. Defiler, 165. Scourge, so 175 to 180, depending on how you want to equip it. Plagueburst Crawler, 165, or 175 with 2 entropy cannons. A Rhino, 80 points. Mortarion, 490 points. And the Miasmic Magnifier, 75 points. Then, of course, your Deadly Pathogens, which we went over earlier, to buy stuff. And that's it, folks. We have successfully reviewed the entirety of the Death Guard Codex. Cultists can shoot auto guns, says Zerath. Is that worth losing objective secured over? I doubt it. I severely doubt that. I hate cultists anyway in Chaos Armies. Yes, plus they don't get access to the Death Shall Rise, and where they can all come back to life and stuff like that as well. Well, I hope you all really enjoyed this disgusting Codex review. This disgustingly filthy Codex review. Phobos says, let's write a list, Scary. Zombies eat cultists. They do. And they turn them into more zombies. Cultists can do actions, Pix Walkers cannot. Correct. Pix Walkers can't do anything because they don't exist. Death Guard Cultists, because someone has to raise the banners and deploy scramblers. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you take 1 unit of Chaos Cultists. Whoop-de-freaking-do. But yes, you are right. Thanks for sacrificing your sleep for us, says Breacher. Thank you for tuning in. Everyone who watched on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you are all the real heroes. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love doing these reviews. If you'd like to support the channel, make sure you head on over to patreon.com/SkaredCast, where you can join the Denizen community, who is a global community of awesome, like-minded gamers. Thank you so much just for watching, for clicking that like button. It really means a lot, gets the algorithm going. For watching the whole video. Chocobo says, do you have OnlyFans? I do, definitely. We call it Only Cans and Only Sprues. And I do stuff with sprues and cans. I don't know. You just have to find out. You know, if you can find me on OnlyFans, let me know. I hope you all enjoyed it. Death Guard. So, what's my review? I'm going to give it a 7. A 7. I'm going to give it a 7. Yeah, out of what? I don't know. But 7 is the Death Guard number, so we're going to give it a 7. Why not? Other than that, yeah, you know, did they mess up a few things? Sure, they didn't do everything they could have done. You know, there's a couple of things in there that like makes you raise your eyebrows, like, you know, separating plate and stuff like that. It's like, you know, what were you thinking? But other than that, you know, I think in and of itself, it's going to be a fun book if you're a collector of Death Guard. The model range is fantastic. Will Mortarion be seen? I presume so. Will he just die on turn 1 like he normally does? Maybe. He is a lot tougher than he used to be, so we'll see about that. Other than that, I think it's a decent codex. We played Mortal Wound Bingo, and there was tons of mortal wounds, which was fantastic. Can't wait to see it. Now, I'll be on later today, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I have another Tabletop Simulator match, which is going to be super fun against Simon. And it's going to be a Dark Eldar mirror match for the Warp Wonders RTT online tournament game. So it's going to be super fun. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And leave a comment down below. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, or follow on Twitch as well. Other than that, that's it. I have been Scary. That's all I can say. Can anyone make a mortal wound count? Maybe 77? I don't know. I honestly, whoever was keeping track. Of course, I'm Scary, the Blade. In this case, the Plague Blade. And yeah, patreon.com. Other than that, that's it. Thanks all for tuning in, everybody. I've been Scary, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Scary out. Ah, blah, blah.